multiple sources,
sources,
multiple sources,
3 sources,
credible sources,
3 sources,
credible sources, multiple sources,
sources,
multiple sources,
3 sources,
credible sources,
3 sources,
credible sources,
fighter jets were deployed,
multiple sources,
fighter jets were deployed, and sources. I've heard it now from 3 different people.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing.
I've heard it now from 3 different people.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. The lack of information, the lack of information, the lack of information, the lack of information.
This is an ongoing mystery.
multiple sources,
This is an ongoing mystery.
multiple sources,
Intelligence sources.
This is an ongoing mystery.
multiple sources,
This is an ongoing mystery.
multiple sources,
Intelligence sources.
The lack of information, 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 the lack of information,
multiple sources,
multiple sources,
3 sources,
credible sources,
3 sources,
credible sources, multiple sources,
sources,
multiple sources,
3 sources,
credible sources,
3 sources.
credible sources,
This is an ongoing mystery.
multiple sources,
This is an ongoing mystery.
multiple sources,
Intelligence sources.
This is an ongoing mystery.
multiple sources,
This is an ongoing mystery.
multiple sources,
Intelligence sources.
Masses.
Luis Elizondo.
For the masses.
Luis Elizondo.
For the masses. Yeah. For the masses.
Good troubleshoot.
For the
The Soul Foundation.
yeah.
The Soul Foundation.
For the
We grifters.
yeah.
We grifters.
For the masses.
We the people have to come together.
For the masses.
We the people have to come together.
Hi, everyone, here and around the world. Tall white, Nordic, tall white, Nordic. Hi, everyone, here and around the world. Tall white, Nordic, tall white, Nordic. The tall white extraterrestrials. Nordic, the tall white extraterrestrials. Nordic, the tall white extraterrestrials. Nordic, tall white, Nordic, tall white, Nordic.
UFO disclosure. UFO craft and bodies. UFO disclosure. UFO craft and bodies. UFO disclosure. UFO craft and bodies. UFO disclosure. UFO craft and bodies.
People who might not buy everything you're saying, who are skeptics, have said over and over again, he has no first-hand knowledge. Maybe we shouldn't believe you. When you say you have first-hand knowledge, maybe we shouldn't believe you.
legally hold the fact that we're not alone. We've recovered material and we've recovered documents. And beyond that, the fact that we're not alone. We've recovered material and we've recovered documents. And beyond that, ontologically shocking but also uniting.
Any evidence.
Ontologically shocking but also uniting.
Any evidence.
intel guy.
Ontologically shocking, but also uniting.
Any evidence? Any evidence? Any evidence? Yeah.
Ontologically shocking, but also uniting.
Any evidence? Any evidence? Any evidence?
I'm an intel guy.
Daniel P. Sheehan, classified. Daniel P. Sheehan, classified. Daniel P. Sheehan, classified. Daniel P. Sheehan, classified. Crash retrieval operation. Psychological phenomenon. Crash retrieval operation. Psychological phenomenon.
The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency.
Masses.
Ontologically shocking, but also uniting. Ontologically shocking, but also uniting. Ontologically shocking, but also uniting. Ontologically shocking, but also uniting.
The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency.
Greetings and salutations, fellow Truthseekers, and welcome back. Tonight we're going to be exploring what I believe is the downfall of the prevailing UFO narrative since at least 2017. And there has been a lot of evidence recently that some people who have theorized that certain people are behind this push or this false narrative were indeed correct. I, for one, when the Dave Grusch story began, said that I believed that he was being manipulated by less than ethical, less than moral UFO profiteers and pushers. And now it would appear, due to evidence provided by one dark journalist, that at least one person is certainly manipulating Dave Grusch, deciding who he can or cannot do an interview with. And by the way, just want to make sure that we put on the record, let me hit my do not disturb here as well. Want to make sure that I put on the record before we even begin that this whole narrative, it's falling apart before our very eyes, but it still works if you deny the history of all these people involved. And so tonight I thought we would do a review, because some people think you're going to get the truth from people who keep getting caught lying to you. Now we've shown this, tonight's graphic, which is a perfect representation of what may indeed be going on here. And I'm not the first person to have this theory. It's long been speculated Mr. Christopher Mellon may indeed be the false disclosure puppet master. There are perfectly crystal clear direct ties to all of these people who are pushers of this false UFO disclosure narrative. Profiteers, wackadoo scientists in the form of Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis. And when this invasion of intelligence community members and associates happened into the UFO community, the well-respected researchers that were there at the time, and I suppose you could count Richard Dolan as one of those people, they all just caved to the what many people have called the CIA psyop. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it definitely, we can show that a lot of the UFO disclosure narrative is orchestrated. And these people are all cooperating with each other. There's clear ties to them. Richard Dolan caved right in and jumped on the bandwagon, hoping to get, I don't know what, book deals, documentary deals, right? Then we have George Knapp, who also just collapsed under the weight of this false narrative being pushed largely with lies, half truths, and of course, we have the three frontmen for this whole UFO disclosure narrative since 2017, all with direct ties right to Mr. Christopher Mellon of the Mellon banking family. First, they put out Tom DeLonge, and then he screwed up showing Joe Rogan completely fake videos on a huge podcast. They had to get him out of there. So then they send in a new front person in the form of Lou Elizondo, but his story begins falling apart because he can't take hard questions. By the way, at what point is Lou Elizondo going to sit down with a real interviewer who is going to drill down, did you run an official $22 million funded Pentagon UFO program? Did you run a clandestine or sensitive aerial threat identification program for the Pentagon? Because according to the Pentagon, both those things never happened. Lou Elizondo ran a UFO program in the land of make-believe. Then, so Lou Elizondo's story begins to fall apart. Along comes Dave Grusch, a new front person, to push the very same stories and very same narrative, in some cases getting them directly from the previous, front people here. It's all connected, and tonight we're going to get into it. Of course, we've got Gary Nolan, wackadoo scientist, too, involved heavily in all of this. We're going to be giving you quite the oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know my background was like that. I need a producer. 1 second. What can I say? So we're going to get into this entire story. And I had a surprise earlier in the evening because there's a few people that I think may be able to shed real light on this entire situation. And one of them would be Mr. Mellon's cousin, who has been quite vocal in his criticism in the past of this false narrative being pushed by the Mellon banking family. Some people will call them the Illuminati members. I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure, but was Christopher Mellon at Bohemian Grove? Maybe. Yeah. So this gets complicated, and when you get into these intelligence circle guys, it gets squirrely fast. So, I appreciate the help of somebody who may be able to provide insight. And I could think of no better person than Mr. Mellon's own family, his cousin, John William Warner, who has been the most requested guest here. People message me all the time asking when he's going to come back on. So tonight we have a very special surprise for all of you. We're going to bring him right in here. John William Warner, you are here again.
I'm here.
Yeah, so I was going to go through some history. I thought we have to start with this through the Stars Academy. And I have some questions for you. And one of them is, does Christopher Mellon need the money? And why is he participating in a for-profit situation where he wants everybody to donate money or invest in a company? If he believes so strongly in this, couldn't he have just bankrolled this thing and not had all these victims of what many people have described as the TTSA techno scam?
Well, he could have. He certainly asked me for money to invest in Hal Puthoff's quantum underwater communication system. And I said, no way. He wanted several $1 million. I said, no way. The Navy's already got that stuff. So it's been really strange since TTSA, but Chris Mellon is definitely a puppeteer, but he is being puppeteered from above himself. There are
That's one of my next questions. There's got to be somebody above him, right? And saying even TTSA's propaganda said that he was their tie to Washington. So there's somebody in Washington D.C. pulling Mellon strings, and then he's pulling all these UFO puppeteers strings, right? It's bizarre.
Well, it's like what I told Daniel List. I mean, if Mellon's public, none of the big wigs are public. The Black Round Tables are a combination of military, corporate, intelligence, and maybe even a few politicians. But it's very secretive, and they don't want to be seen. And the Mellon family used to be very private, but not anymore. So he's taken his marching orders, and I think he truly believes the 60% of the UFO file he was given, and nothing more. Nothing more. I think he looks at all of us as dissidents and Muppets and things, and it's like, why can't people be nice to me and agree with me all the time? It's very strange. And this whole Grusch thing, I mean, Grusch has had acting lessons, I can tell you that. I know enough actors. They've told me, oh, yeah, he's had acting lessons. He's been groomed over the years. He's
by Brian Bender said that Lou Elizondo has groomed him for his current role. So we have this front-man situation, like, let's push this guy out to be the front man for all this stuff. And then the front man fails, they get a new one, but the old one grooms the new one with some of the same stories, bizarre.
I mean, Grusch told Dark Journalists that Elizondo, groomed him for the job. And apparently Grusch doesn't like Elizondo, and he's afraid of Mellon and, the pushback from Mellon. That's the word from Grusch's own mouth. It's very strange and odd. I mean, it almost seems like it's a huge time waster for everyone. It's been 6-7 years. Nothing has come forward. There's nothing but hearings and hot air and political dodges and, and no evidence or anything, no film, no photos, no nothing from the government side. And then you've got Gary Nolan and all these people, Abby Loeb and, Ross Coulthard, your favorite. I mean,
fine. Here's the thing, though, John. If you were real and genuine, would you have to go to shady journalists that keep getting caught selling fake stories to help you sell your story? It doesn't make sense.
Stupid. You are
if you're stupid.
The whole operation doesn't smack of high intellect. I'll tell you that much right now. It's. TTSA was, the resumes spoke volumes. Everyone was Intel or CIA, DIA, National Reconnaissance Office, NSA. I mean, these alphabet agencies, you got to look them all up. And they create new ones every day, new acronyms, ARROW, ATIP, OSAP.
AIO, MSG. That was my favorite. Awa Misig. That sounds like a good AIO, MSG, yeah, they love the alpha. These guys love acronyms and stupid.
It's they keep because they throw people off the trail and they confuse people. And it's such a transparent, weak effort on their part. It fools the general public, those that are even interested in this topic. But in the disclosure movement, it only fools, I don't know, maybe the 60%, but not the 40% who's sort of in opposition, which you and I are. I mean, it's nonsense. So this whole thing, it's like what I told Dark Journalists. It almost seems like the whole Mellon operation is designed to fail.
Yeah.
It's like when engineers engineer a part in a transmission or a machine that is a sacrificial part. So that fails, but it saves the rest of it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
The deep state says, go do this dog and pony show, but when it fails, then it's on you guys and not us. And so that's
because they're off in the shadows manipulating these other front people. And I also wanted to ask your opinion because, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a law enforcement officer, but I've been reading a lot of stuff about SEC guidelines, and that I keep coming back to this TTSA thing. And one of the reasons that I truly believe that this is some sort of a government op, that's my personal belief and speculation, and I'm entitled to it, considering there was 150 years of CIA experience on the TTSA board combined. And also, you cannot, John, to my knowledge, you can't lie to investors while you're soliciting public investment, or you get in trouble. There's going to be some repercussions. They clearly lied about Lou Elizondo. That's why I'm saying it's got to be government, because otherwise they wouldn't get a pass for possibly violating SEC violations, lying to investors as they're collecting money. There was two things. First, they told everybody they were building a spaceship with exotic technology. Next, they tell everybody that Lou Elizondo ran a Pentagon program that he never ran. Then they tell everybody that they have UAP material that came from UFOs. And that turns out, according to Kirkpatrick, to be nothing special, ordinary, art sparks. It was bunk. It was all a joke. There was nothing to those materials. So all of these things are lies while they are publicly soliciting people to invest in their organization. I just think that's prosecutable for most people. Like if I start a company and tell everybody to invest and I'm just lying to them, to the investors, I would be prosecuted. I would be arrested. I would have all kinds of trouble with the SEC. There appears, or at one point, people were saying that there was an SEC investigation. I reached out for a comment. They have no comment right now, which could mean there still is an ongoing investigation. But why do they get a pass for lying to investors? And then here's another thing, John. It's very shady that a bunch of people who say they're for disclosure and transparency, they delete the old videos where they're basically incriminating themselves. And you have to go to way back to see them promise everybody a spaceship. It's crazy.
Any entity or group that's involved in national security issues automatically are above the law.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, listen, John, I know, I knew somebody who was involved in organized crime, and then he became a rat. He went into witness protection. I don't know what happened to him after that, but I had heard from a mutual friend that he was getting busted burglarizing houses. And because he was in a witness protection program, they couldn't arrest him and put him back in jail. So they just gave him a pass on his illegal activities because, he's in with the government and he's an informant now. So to my logic, these guys got to be connected somehow to get a pass on what can only be described, or what has been described, as an investment scam. They ran an investment scam, some people say. If you lie to investors and collect all this money while you're lying, that's a criminal offense to most people's reading of the SEC guidelines. So I keep coming back to the only reason they're not in trouble is because they get a pass, because they're connected somehow.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who comes out with that, connected to those people, that they're going to get a pass. I mean, that's been known for a long time. I mean, these guys are all above the law, and they drag Tom DeLonge. He's a dumb bobo, in there. And then Luis Elizondo's made Hero of the Year, and he's just a counterintelligence guy. It's all nonsense. But the weird thing about all this is how much of time they're taking away from people who are dedicating themselves to genuine research on the UFO ET topic. And, I think that's part of the idea of the whole operation going forward. It's a huge time waster for everyone. It's instead of more important things. And that's why I think that it needs to be criticized, all of their stuff, because none of it has come forward with anything solid. I mean, there are people in the disclosure movement with much more, tangible, things that could fall into the category of maybe proof. But these guys are just all hot air, and they go to Congress and they have a big dog and pony show with Grusch. And what? Nothing happened. Everyone's like, "Isn't it great? We're finally seeing disclosure." I'm like, "No, we're not. We're seeing a semblance of disclosure."
Yeah,
not
we're seeing
real.
we're seeing an op of false disclosure. Do you think that this could all be to throw people off of the real trail? A lot of people have put forth that
Yeah,
opinion that
yeah,
this is
because
the junk conspiracy to put people off of the real conspiracy. Then
right,
some say.
they keep saying it's anomaly and a mystery and a, phenomenon. That's my favorite, phenomenon. And everyone keeps using that on Twitter and everything like that. And it's like you're just adding more fluff out there by calling it a phenomenon.
Yeah, and by the way, I want to pause for a second so we can hear Tom DeLonge promise everybody a spaceship with a revolutionary power
please.
source.
Attack
No.
those three things:
Yeah,
aerospace, science, and entertainment. Again,
Entertainment.
some important stories to tell, a need to learn more, and a plan to engineer the technology observed. This is why I am here. This is why they are here. We're going to bring it to the world. And we're going to show you today how we aim to achieve this. We have a plan.
hindsight, man.
The unimaginable.
Watching this stuff now is just
stuff
funny.
of dreams to the world.
The stuff of dreams. They're going to bring it to the world. Just invest in our shady
Stars
company.
Academy of Arts and Science aims to communicate historic events and forward-thinking ideas through motion picture, and include you on ongoing scientific discovery, and build an exotic craft with an energy source that can revolutionize the world. And I would like you to help us push humanity over an invisible boundary that seems to confine us, forcing us to make the same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah, the same
He's
mistakes
lying.
over and over again.
He's lying through his teeth.
Yeah, and what I love, John, is that his kind of source for where they're going to get this wonderful, groundbreaking technology, right, is none other than Hal Puthoff, who's been involved in multiple. Listen, I could say this. I think he's been involved in multiple multi-million-dollar scams. There, I said it. The $22 million with Bigelow, that was a scam. $22 million wasted by Bob Bigelow and put off.
That's nothing.
Right? Then
billions. I mean, these guys have been in black programs.
The Joe Firmage.
They're wasting taxpayer dollars by the billions and trillions. Hal Puthoff's been in black programs. It's also stupid. That whole TTSA thing was the dumbest, weirdest, goofiest program I've ever seen. It's like, just come out and tell the public instead of doing this. Oh, we're doing an entertainment vehicle, going all Hollywood hipster on us. Tom DeLonge's
Here's
a real
the Joe Firmage. Here's the Joe Firmage scam. This is the one where even Brandon Fugel got scammed out of millions of dollars. The Joe Firmage advanced propulsion anti-gravity scam. And there he is. There's Puthoff right there with the Firmage, right? And Brandon Fugel was there. And so, how many times is Hal Puthoff going to promise everybody super advanced technology, collect millions of dollars, and then not deliver? These are the puppets of disclosure. I think they're useful idiots or something. Like, we got to get a science guy in here. Let's get Puthoff.
But, this project probably had a lot of promise, but somebody shut it down. It's like trying to bring this technologies to the world. People have tried it for decades and decades, and they always get shut down because this is a paradigm changer. It's look at all these guys. They're like, yeah, we're going to save the world, and then somebody, puts their boot down on their head. And
there's Puthoff and Brandon Fugel, who were
they may have good intentions.
Deeply involved.
They may have good intentions, but they're stupid and naive to think they can get it out just because they've got all these guys in the room. The deep state has people that can flatten these people like pancakes in 1 millisecond. This is nonsense. And everything is just these tantalizing tidbits that don't go anywhere. And that's
you're
what
right.
The whole,
chase the carrot, John. We're chasing carrots here.
They do that, and in a sense, you're right. It is a big scam because they keep putting that carrot out in front of everybody and going, "Look, disclosure," and nothing ever happens. And maybe that's the way it's going to go for decades now. I mean, it lasts forever. The dangling carrots and nonsense, And I don't know what the whole aim of all this, stuff is. It's not disclosure. It's the semblance of disclosure. So they can't do it. So they need the public to do it for them. I don't know how.
Most weird. And one of the other things, Oh yeah, one of the other things I wanted to mention that was incredibly shady is that To the Stars Academy basically used the media, including George Knapp and all of his media resources, to pump and promote this TTSA, what has been described as a techno scam, where they lied to investors, clearly lied to investors. And George Knapp was apparently or allegedly was an early investor in TTSA. He covered them and covered them and covered them and covered them, and helped to raise awareness and get the word out that they needed public investment. That's also, I think, illegal. I don't think that you as a journalist can help promote an organization that you're an investor in without disclosing that publicly. So this whole thing is so shady. And what gets me, John, is like there's so many people that are fans of these people. Like they're going to bring us the truth. How are these people bringing you the truth? They keep getting caught doing shady shit and lying to everybody. This makes no sense to me.
Because they're associated with officials.
Yeah,
so,
they got good credentials.
You and I are not officials. We've never worked for the government or the military. So the whole dog and pony show is they're just dancing around a campfire and not getting anything done. And George Knapp used to be a really good researcher and journalist, whatever.
He did some great
totally
work.
Caved in and joined that whole thing. And it's the problem. So did Corbell and a few others, and they're all the
Richard Dolan, all the people. Nick Dolan, they all jumped right on it to get their money.
Dolan's a full-on coward. He really is. He's
Do you know what he's doing right now, John? Him and his wife are selling people superpowers. You too can get superpowers. Just attend their conference because his wife has superpowers now.
Well, there you go.
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. This guy used to be considered credible, but I never did buy that whole professor act of his. I was like, this guy's shady. And then once you start digging into his stories, you find out how shady Dolan is. And he caved to this whole false narrative. Yeah.
Big money rolls around, people hop on board. It happens in business all the time. You get people that are on the fence about something. Well, you hire them and pay them money, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, hell yeah, we'll stump for you. I mean, it's the oldest thing in the book.
Yeah, I just heard another show host.
Been doing this for 35 years, and he's never got a reward for it. And now he's getting his reward from the enemy.
I just heard another show host talking about one of these UFO circle jerk shows. You know those shows that just let these guys talk, never challenge them, never ask them hard questions. One of these grifters bought that show host a very expensive laptop, and he accepted it, and then they go on a show again. Like, how is that not shady? You're gonna be impartial when you're getting, $2,000 gifts from your guests?
Oh, more than that, probably. I mean, these gifts will go around. That's how corporations do it. They have startups, and they give you free laptops and tablets and cars and other things. I mean, it's all perks. So, I mean, let's face it, the UFO ET issue, with all of its trimmings and history and, everything, it's becoming mainstream, but not in a significant disclosure way. It's more of a pop culture topic. They're just look how many new if you type in UAP to YouTube, you'll never get to the bottom of it now.
There's know it's
20
endless.
Million videos on it with people you've never heard of. They're like, oh, well, we're doing a special UAP presentation tonight, and they don't know jack shit about anything. So they're muddying the waters.
Yeah, you're right. And I love it. You have like The Hill and Redacted and all these people that know nothing about UFOs, but they're trying to jump in to get the money. So then they have liars on like Nick.
Well, they're Intel. The Intel agencies own The Hill.
They're supplying them.
News Nation and all that. That's easy peasy stuff. But it's they said, well, we can't hide the subject and we can't disclose. So what do? Well, let's just make it another pop culture deal. And so they have. I mean, it always has been with movies and TV, but now it's with government officials. It's like, oh, let's have a dog and pony show and a concert, and reveal nothing. And
around and around we go. Big bombs dropping soon, though.
Disclosure. It's like, there's nothing here. There's nothing here.
Yeah, there is.
Having a big concert out in the desert, Contact in the Desert. Yeah, man. Let's go out there. They have churros and chocolate. And,
did you see a list of this year's speakers?
And palm reading.
It's a woo fest this year.
Yeah, it's a woo fest.
It's just ridiculous.
It's become a popular culture thing. This is no longer about serious research and the government's hiding stuff. It's no longer about that. It's about popular culture and entertainment. This is
you're right. It's becoming very
the
popular.
Grusch trial. You
could make
an argument that was entertainment for the masses, bread and circuses.
Yeah,
That's what it is. We're in a giant coliseum. And the Romans are, the emperors and the elite are putting on a giant circus. Look, disclosure, and they have fly UFOs around and everything like that. But there's no real disclosure of anything. They'll productize more stuff from UFO technology over the years, and they'll just keep doing it. And they're making it into just an entertainment field.
Yeah, I agree with you. And one of the other things I wanted to talk to you about is because this is what I don't understand. I know only a few very wealthy people, you being one of them. And one of the things that I've learned about very wealthy people is that they don't want to be perceived as like gullible or stupid. But yet,
no, they're stupid, all right.
But Christopher Mellon was like all, balls deep in this TTSA thing. And here they are basically promising that they have pieces of UFOs. They're going to do all this scientific study of this. And it turns out that what they have is a piece of a rocket casing from the 1960s. That's what they have. It's junk. It's garbage.
Very dangerous that we have it.
It's nothing. It's entertainment.
Yeah, it's like cloak and dagger, drama it up.
Are convinced that they've seen what they've seen.
Right there.
And for that reason, I'm willing to listen. And again, that doesn't mean run to.
Tom DeLonge is one of the biggest assholes out there. They got a celebrity. I'd never even heard of him when I first knew about him.
Well, I had because I was in a rock band, but like, unless you're a 14-year-old girl. And you were at the time he was popular. Oh, and that's another thing. This whole TTSA techno scam, John, he wrapped in all of his personal debts into that.
Yeah.
And then he took TTSA money to do his bullshit band that, and by the way, I know for a fact he couldn't even fill small theaters with this Angels to Airwaves. He couldn't even fill small theaters doing live shows with them.
This is all about fluff.
But all the debt from Angels and Airwaves, his basically vanity music project was paid for by TTSA money. They promised everybody a spaceship. We've got UFO material. We're going to do all the scientific analysis and investigation and prove this. And they gave us a terrible movie. That's what he spent all the money on. We've got Elizondo, according to some reports, saying that Tom DeLonge wasted all the money on a stupid movie. It's incredible. It's an incredible story.
They're conflating UFO research history with entertainment and rock and roll music and all this stuff. So they're watering it down. They're muddying the water to make the narrative just, junk. And they've done a really good job, actually. They've made it more popular. There's more people interested in the UFO thing, but it's all for the wrong reasons. And it's all, bland and boring intelligence that's been around for 40 years, 50 years. And so, I'm
recycled stories. Yeah.
But they're just doing nothing. Look at this asshole. Son of a bitch. These guys are just so janky, and they're not even that entertaining, to be honest with you.
No, I couldn't even watch Elizondo's history show. And I love UFOs. I couldn't watch it. It was garbage.
Everyone hated it. I mean, and they had Unacknowledged and everything. What was that other film? It was really bad. I never even watched this one. It was so bad. And
oh, look, we got the secret UFO crap pieces in our bin here. We're driving it to get analyzed. They never released any scientific studies. But they did get the United States Army, I believe, for $1 million contract to study this junk. And that's another thing that they got to pass on. Like if I defrauded the United States Army out of $1 million, wouldn't I go to prison? Wouldn't they investigate? Wouldn't they want the money back? Where'd that money go? It's like an endless black hole of money for these guys. They're all making a lot of money.
Well, they're covering for people who are using even more.
Oh, and look at this. So this is the most credible people they could get to look at this material. Hal Puthoff, who's been involved in multiple multi-million-dollar scams around UFOs, aliens, remote viewing, and more. And Eric Davis, who the United States Air Force called his research crackpot science. I have the article. They called his research crackpot science.
They're genuine guys, but they know which side their bread is buttered on. I mean,
look and drama it up. We're all wearing gloves. We gotta put this in a safe. We gotta put this shit in a safe, right? It's so valuable. It was a rocket casing. It was
the general public eats this stuff up with a spoon.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Oh wow, these are officials doing official things for the official narrative, for the official good. It's all nonsense. And so, but Americans love nonsense. I'm sorry.
You know better than most people. Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, it's in the safe, John. They're gonna bring us the truth about those aliens. It's all in the safe.
Yeah, that whole
looking
TTSA
back at this stuff now, and
that's going to haunt them because
Grusch
everyone's got their footage like you do.
Yeah, and Grusch is the front man now. But all the people behind him, around him, surrounding him, are all these same people that pushed this bullshit a few years ago. And so we just it's TTSA 2.0 with the few different players, right?
Exactly. They don't have a lot of creative minds or high intellects working on this program. It's really bad. But they don't have to work that hard. They're dealing with, they just don't have to work very hard for this. But it's all crumbling in front of them. In the last 4 years, I've noticed, I'd say, a pretty decent transfer of their, the disclosure movement is now turning against them, a little bit. And I think that's why Chris Mellon lashed out against dark journalists in a public manner on Twitter. I think that was
and that's what I wanted to talk to you about too. Like, why wouldn't he just go on his show? Why won't he just go on his show and say, this is bullshit, you're pushing false narrative? He can't, right? He cannot withstand real questions from somebody like me or DJ or somebody that's really been watching this.
He'll never debate me. Oh, no.
And where money to see it, though.
Where would there be a fair, venue for him and me? There is none. Because if you go on Rogan or something like that, Rogan's part of their fucking opposition. He's a thug.
He just helped Diana Pasulka sell out her entire run of books. Yeah. Very profitable to go on Rogan and toe the line.
We're all going in circles, man. We're all going in circles, and those guys are leading everyone by the short and curly.
I wanted to get your opinion on this too, because this is sort of like news to me. The Dark Journalist posted, I want everyone to see this response. Former DOD intel official Christopher Mellon, who I exposed was controlling UFO whistleblower David Grusch, is sending his son Hunter out, lurking in my threads, making snarky remarks. What kind of person pimps their kid out to fight his battles instead of owning up and being a man and debating in a gentleman's fashion about his own misconduct? Mr. Mellon this is disgraceful behavior. So he's got his son who, I don't know if you know, do you know him? He's
I met him briefly. He's a young guy. He's going into the DIA, by the way.
He's going into the intelligence, yes. Right. And he's going to Harvard. He's going to Harvard. So, no coincidence that Christopher Mellon's son gets into Harvard with that Mellon money.
I think it's sad. My father never asked me to get up on stage with him when he was campaigning. He would never have done that.
Oh,
but
that's
Chris,
interesting.
By using Hunter, even if Hunter volunteered, he's a young kid, doesn't know any better. He doesn't have any life experience or wisdom.
Well, you're going to want to defend your dad, so I don't blame him for that.
Yeah, I understand that. But this is because you don't use your kid and you don't encourage him to come forward. Hunter is nowhere qualified to deal with this. He's a young kid. I've been doing this for 50 fucking years. I'm 60, almost 62. I've been doing this since I was 12 years old, at least, maybe longer. This kid just comes in and believes everything his father says and the government can't do wrong in his eyes. That's low for Chris to do that. It's not Hunter's fault, his father's fault.
I was wondering if he's studying criminal law at Harvard, because that could come in handy in the future.
He's going into the DIA.
DIA, yeah, intelligence, right?
This is the way the world is. I mean, a lot of people, when I was young, I thought about going into Navy and Navy intelligence, or I don't know. I didn't do it, but it's like you want an interesting life and an interesting job, but this, the dirty laundry they're protecting is massive. I don't care what it is, but it's massive. And they've spent trillions on security since World War II. I mean, duh, what are they hiding? And the answer is, you tell me. I mean, everything under the sun. And it's dirt. And you're dragging your kid on your coattails, and the kid's going to get burned too. So I'm angry at Chris for that. I don't care what Chris says about me or whatever. I don't care. But dragging his son into this thing, I'm telling you, that's a failure of huge magnitude.
I can only speak as a father, John, and like if that's like my son going on Twitter and arguing with people who have some kind of problem with me. I would tell the hell off the internet. It's my problem here.
That's really dumb. If I had a son, I don't, but if I had a son who's 22 or 3 and did that, I'd be yell at him and get him off Twitter. Don't you dare do that. Don't get involved with my business. And Chris should have known that. So I think it's disgusting, actually. This is starting to get really weird. It was weird before, but this is getting weird now. And, by attacking dark journalists, he's attacking me too. He won't do it face to face. He won't bring my name into it.
He's using him as a proxy because he does not like you talking shit on him. And you've been like spilling the beans on his family and your family and like what the reality is.
He brought light on it, first. I didn't. I never would have. But he did it. He drew first blood, so to speak. And, I'm not going to get up there and listen to him lie and say it's all a mystery and we got to solve it. And the U.S. military doesn't know anything. And poor old CIA, they get, look, my wife worked for the CIA. There's a lot of good people that work for intel agencies and the military.
I'm sure,
and all that. But God damn it, the people in the basement wearing black hats and, drinking blood, they're the ones who are going to sustain everyone else.
The
military too. It's like, oh, I work for the CIA and they're above board. Yeah, upstairs in your department in the toilet paper section.
He said they would never do anything illegal. He just, Christopher Mellon just said,
the Houthis.
He just said they wouldn't do anything that illegal. They would be crucified. He just said the CIA won't do illegal things.
I mean, my God, there's a guy on acid or something. He's eating mushrooms. I don't know. It's insane.
Yeah, one other thing I wanted you to shed light on. A few years ago, he said that he investigated and there's no evidence of extraterrestrials visitation on Earth. And then just a few years later, he's balls deep in TTSA. Rah, rah. We're going to tell you the truth about those aliens. It doesn't, that 180 and it's such a 2-year span doesn't make any sense.
Dysfunctional. Yeah, it's so dysfunctional. I mean, it's not even funny. But, these people are doing a goofy, weird PSYOP program, and it's ongoing, and it's involving scientists and journalists and all these other janky people. And it's like, wow, they got a 10-ring circus going. I mean, forget the disclosure movement. That's another 1,000-ring circus. But they've got a 10-ring circus going of their own. And, man, it's going to come falling down all over their heads. None of this is going to turn out well for anybody in 10 or 15.
Don't you think that Mellon and a few other of these people like Elizondo, they're starting to freak out because I think that the layers of deception that they've used to put all this together is really unraveling lately. And they're having a lot harder time.
Yes, it has the appearance of it, but never underestimate these people. These intelligence people that they're covering for murderers and psychopaths. I'm serious.
Wow. I want to take a moment to
thank that shit. And, I don't trust them one damn bit to reach across the aisle or do anything. It's all deception, smoke and mirrors, and they're like, so never trust them. Maybe we're seeing that, this is starting to break down, or maybe it's been planned all along. I can't tell you that. It's not clear enough. It
Yeah.
seems that way, but nothing is as it seems when you're dealing with the deep state. I'm telling you. So maybe they are imploding, but it's on purpose, or maybe it's part of the plan. I don't know. It makes your head spin.
Yeah, we want to thank King Milkford Harassment Archive for kind and generous $5. Says God bless to both of you, and also we got a big fan of yours waiting backstage here, who has
There
also
she is.
Jess. She has been following this as long as me, since 2017. So I thought she might have some thoughts and insight, but I don't know.
She does.
She's got herself muted.
She has very good insights.
Well, Jess, whenever you're ready, there you go.
Hey, what's up, fellas? Yeah, I couldn't miss the opportunity to jump in and ask John some questions.
Yeah, I want you to do that.
Of course, I'm a huge fan, John. But given your history and your expertise on World War II and the Nazis and the occult, and how it all ties back into everything that's going on right now, Diana Pasulka has recently been on Joe Rogan. And she's been talking about Tyler or Timothy Taylor. And, everybody these days is calling him like, the modern day Jack Parsons, right? So I kind of wanted to see what you were thinking on that and how that all plays in. Like, people see the three of them. And if you go back, back in the day, you got Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons, and, his wife. And there was that whole trio going on, and you see Nolan and this Taylor guy and Pasulka, and it's kind of all like his history kind of sort of repeating itself, because they say that he does the same types of rituals and is trying to contact something else via the occult or all of that stuff, and getting this information, these downloads, and taking that and trying to patent technology that he's receiving. So what are your thoughts on that?
Man, that's so weird. I don't even know where to begin. I think from my studies over the years, there's something to this occult. There's something to the Babylon workings and dark magic. There's something to that. It has to do with the interdimensional side of things, ETs and the like. But people who can actually do it successfully probably are few and far between. Crowley and Parsons exchanged letters, and they said how hard it was to get any kind of results or any communication from these entities. Every once in a while, sort of. And my guess is they were kind of, not doing things correctly, and the ancient history tells you that people from off-world take rituals very, very seriously. And we have our own rituals, marriage and, a funeral and a million different things. We have rituals. The Super Bowl is kind of a ritual for Americans, as the World Cup is, and there's could be some interdimensional energy work going on there. I'm not saying it's negative or positive. It's sort of probably everything. But people saying they're patenting technology that can do this kind of stuff. And first of all, that's not really important. That's a subject that's kind of taken people down an alleyway that really it's interesting, but it's not that important. Right now, if you ask me, the important things are, what is our genuine history? What really happened in World War II? What the hell happened with all the Germans? Did they really, go off world from Antarctica? There had serious Operation Deep Freeze going on, down there. And what's the truth behind the military-industrial complex, back engineering, and the UFO file? And those are the most important things. So when you get more esoteric subjects and they're like, hey, look over here, and they're like, look, we're gonna patent a calculator that does Babylon workings, and we're gonna human calculate it. It's like my little red flag goes off. It's like, this is a distraction. Not that there isn't something to it, there is, but it's not that important now, given everything that's going on. That's the best way I can sort of describe it.
Well, a lot of the stuff that she has been saying recently is kind of like throwing up red flags like left and right, because She said she brought up this material that was basically like the Roswell type material that was you can crumple up in your hand and just goes back to its shape. Gary Nolan has come out in the past couple of days and said, yeah, I never saw that material, and they were all allegedly out there at the same time gathering this stuff. And she said that Timothy Taylor was taking this material up into zero gravity areas and trying to, I guess, re-engineer it and layer it in certain ways, that he has basically created this whole biologics. And you hear that buzzword from Grusch, this whole biologics field. So I mean, there's a whole lot of discrepancies going on. Like, seems like all of their stories are not lining up. And you got some of them that are, you got Nolan, and I don't know why he's coming out and saying, yeah, I never saw that, never said that, versus what she's saying. It's just like they can't get their story straight. And it's just very interesting to
their
me.
story is bullshit if they can't get their story straight. Or I swear to God that I think that some of these guys get behind closed doors when it's just them and they're talking between themselves. And I think they out BS each other. And then one will run with that BS session on something like Rogan. And then Gary Nolan's got to pull it back and say, like, oh, no, I didn't see that. I didn't, like it's too much because they know they don't have evidence.
That's actually a good point. I think they do sometimes get behind, okay, let's all get on the same page. Oh, holy shit. And they do some weird thing like that. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we're up here. I'm talking, but it's like there's a lot of people coming out of the woodwork the last few years out of left field. I'm one of them. I admit that. But they're all got their little thing going, and they're like, oh, free energy, foot massager, and it's like, what? Who cares? And why can't we use that for better use? No, only the foot massager. And so, it's like any big new thing coming along down the pike, and this is a big one. People are going to try to productize it out the yin yang with all kinds of technology. And by the way, the Mylar stuff, if anyone knows what an easy pass is, in the Northeast, we have the easy pass. It comes in a Mylar pouch. Crumple it up and let it go. Shit. It's been around for a long, long time. It has different forms and different packaging things. That's Mylar. That's based on that ET material that you crumple up and it goes back into shape, and it's very tough. So, it's unbelievable that, people can be fooled by all this stuff. But there's a lot of charlatans and a lot of people mixing in with the good researchers, and it's very frustrating.
Well, the term biologics, absolutely, in my opinion. I'd put money that it come from this guy, Timothy Taylor. Do you know anything about him specifically? You heard anything about him that you can give us anything on?
No, I don't know much about him. I really don't.
He was big in, I don't know if you were aware of the Chris Bledsoe story, but he was a big supporter of Chris Bledsoe because Bledsoe allegedly was able to contact these other entities. So, and since he's the modern day Jack Parsons, he's trying to do that and get whatever information that he can. What do you think about Jack Parsons? All the stuff that he did, like, what do you think? You think that's legitimate?
That story is bizarre. That whole Parsons story is bizarre. Like, what's he doing black magic rituals in between trying to develop space technology?
It's not, unfortunately, it's really not that uncommon in that world. If you read enough books, it's like, wait a minute. You realize that all this conjuring up of interdimensional entities, it's the deal with the devil, the blues guy at the fork in the road. I want to be a famous guitarist. I'll sell you my soul. There's something to all that. And so whenever these groups of people want to be powerful, the word is, according to the occult narratives, is you do a deal with the devil and he owns your soul. He owns everything about you, and let's face it, we live in a world that's very violent and warlike and disgusting. And there's human trafficking and dirty deals and scams. Everything is a scam. And it's like, there's probably something to, what Parsons and Crowley were doing, they were trying to gain knowledge and prowess in their fields. They wanted to be the best in their fields, and they were trying to do the deal with the devil and the fork in the road, and they got hammered because Crowley said when he died, he says, "I'm bewildered. I am bewildered," and that means they never really got it all done working right, because when you're dealing with interdimensional entities that are, regressive, they're going to fuck you over in the end. Yeah, I'll make you famous, Madonna, sure, oh, more the merrier. And then, the payoff is really steep. You could lose your family, lose your health. I don't know what it is, but it's like, these things, you don't get something for nothing.
I did know somebody that got.
You could go to a loan shark, and it's the same thing. The loan shark keeps adding points to your VIG.
Yeah, I knew one person that got heavily involved in the occult, and he ended up in a mental institution. Now I don't know, if that was related, but I mean, he was 24/7 just reading books, doing occult rituals in his house, like his, guy I grew up with. And then he ended up.
The SS were involved in the occult and rituals heavily. They weren't stupid. They were violent psychopaths, but they weren't stupid. The Germans weren't stupid.
Is this everybody looking for an edge? Then is that why they pull in the occult, because they're looking for an edge or for sacred or secret knowledge to help them in their goals, right? Yeah.
And by a lot of accounts, they got it. I write that way in my books because I think there's something to that story. And so I write it that way. Yeah, you're damn right. Some ETs come down and they say, "Hey, you guys want to win this war?" And they're like, "Fuck yeah, we want to win this war. We're the Nazis." All right, well, here's some technology, but what do we get? Well, what do you want? Okay, first off, we want 2 million slaves. You got it. We've got 10 million Russians, in camps. You can have all you want. What else, can we get? Mengele gets information on how to dissect twins and do their pineal gland experiments. For psychic reasons, and on and on and on. Oh, anti-gravity, free energy, Nazi Bell. I mean, it sounds wild. They make stupid movies about it, Iron Sky, but I wonder.
That was a fun movie, though.
Paperclip was very real, and we got 5,000 scientists. Okay, everyone's like, Iron Sky is stupid, and I'm like, okay, it is a stupid movie, but the Project Paperclip was real. And my grandfather worked on that with Alan Dulles. I mean, come on. I mean, this is... there's something to all this crap, and
that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you about it was, because right now we hear this whole buzzword interdimensional. It's kind of like they're kind of rebranding it, right? They're trying to rebrand it, and it's the exact same thing what they're trying to do. So you go back and you look at Project Paperclip, you look at everything that Hal Puthoff was involved in, you look at back at the CIA studies, like the LSD studies that, allegedly they have been trying for a long time, different methods and different ways to contact whatever that is. And it's just like follow-up of whatever, the Nazis were trying to do.
That's exactly right. You're absolutely on target. And probably by now that, probably since the last 40 years, they've done it. And, we may be looking at a national security state and military industrial complex that's not only working with physical ETs on engineering projects, but interdimensional ones that just work through a psychic or a channeler and says, put that bolt there and, put that screen there and we'll get it going. And so it's weird to think that way on one hand, but once you get over the hump of disbelief, it's like, that's exactly what I would do. That's the way the universe works. Everything is psychic and interdimensional, and you traveling through space and time, that's interdimensional travel.
So if it's possible that, maybe, they were successful, right? Yeah. And maybe they were able to garner some information to be able to put together some technology to build some things. Right. So how would disclosure, how would you even disclose that? Hey, this is human technology that we built, but it's not coming from, an intergalactic civilization. It's stuff that we have meddled with the occult and these interdimensional entities to get this information, via this shady ass type of contact with something or another, whatever you want to call it. Like, how would that? I mean, no wonder you can't disclose that information, because
Yeah. I mean, it's just like any other contractor on earth. Just because you sell a component to someone or a blueprint, that doesn't mean you're the one pulling the trigger on the weapon. You're just doing commerce. A lot of this is just commerce. You know, I'm sure we've been doing a brisk trade with ET since time immemorial. Not since World War II, but forever. But only certain small groups are doing it. And so because it's not popular in the history books, people think it's not real. It's like, no, I mean, the printing press, you know, somebody whispered in somebody's ear, okay, what do I get for, you know, or, you know, the flintlock, you know, rifle and musket, you know, hey, what do I get?
Gunpowder. Yeah, gunpowder.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I wanted to share this too.
We are clever. We are clever engineers. Human race is very clever, creative.
This is from the SEC filing of TTSA, and it says about Lou Elizondo, for nearly the last decade, he ran a sensitive aerospace threat identification program focused on unidentified aerial technologies and managed the security for certain sensitive portfolios for the U.S. government. But, you know, like, this is right in an SEC filing. He's saying that he ran an official Pentagon UFO program, which we now know, anybody with a brain knows that he did not. It was an activity or a hobby that he did that he was not his assigned responsibilities. Like, I don't understand how right in the SEC filings for TTSA, you can lie through your teeth and there's no consequences, it seems like. And I also wanted to take a moment to talk about the
law. They don't need to. They don't need to dot their I's across their T's at all.
If I did that, I would be prosecuted.
Like us are going to go through and find these filings.
Yeah, nerds like me. And that actually came from Area 503.
And watch soccer and football and maybe turn on the Ancient Aliens and say, "Educate me, I don't know anything." You know, it's unbelievable how many people on Twitter are like, "I don't understand this. Can you explain?" I'm like, "No, do your fucking homework."
Yeah, catch up. Yeah,
so lazy.
John, let me ask you a question, because I took so much shit for this. What I said, and I'm a YouTuber, I know how to look at YouTube views and make a general rough estimation of how much money is being made. And all I said was that hundreds of thousands of dollars was generated from the Dave Grusch story. Grusch. And people lost their minds. Like, you can't say that without evidence. Like, the views are public. News Nation has been covering this story nonstop for 239 days. And this makes no sense to me. 239 days covering a story with no evidence. The man has no evidence. And, you know, people are attacking everybody. I wanted to take a moment, too, to talk about the disbelief. Like, anybody that goes against their narrative, this is from Cosmic Judas, this is wonderful. Yeah, Gary Nolan loses his mind on Neil deGrasse Tyson, who doesn't believe his alien stories.
Neil deGrasse Tyson's PhD should be removed. When's the last time he's been invited to give a
Well, he's right about that.
Well, yeah, I got to give him
When's the
that.
last experiment he's published? Never.
He's right. Neil deGrasse Tyson's a piece of shit.
That was me.
I just think it's funny that they go after anybody that, you know, goes against their narrative. It's like they attack viciously anybody that doesn't agree with them. And, you know, we've got this.
I mean, we're all pots calling the kettle black. But let me do this aside. I met Neil deGrasse Tyson back in the 90s when I lived in New York City. I lived right across from the planetarium, the Natural History Museum. And I went to see one of his lectures on, you know, the planetarium and everything. And I asked him a few questions about life on other planets. And he just brushed me aside.
Yeah.
Here's an intelligent kid. Go away. And, you know, and I knew then he was dirty. This is like 1991. And I was like, God damn, what the hell is?
Yeah, he's a science talking head on TV. I wouldn't consider
he's terrible.
him
He's worse than Sagan. He's unbelievable. Yeah. And it's sad because, you know, there's a prominent African American, and he's on board with the deep state and lying. I'm sure they blackmailed him too. No pun intended. You know,
yeah.
Goddamn, man. What an asshole. You know, so I give Nolan credit. He's right about Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think Nolan's going to start to figure out he's in league with some bad people right now. He's starting to freak out about it.
But I just mean in general, the attacks here, we have some stuff from this UFO hate group, this group of useful idiots that these guys more or less condone. Like, why won't Christopher Mellon, for example, John, why won't he come out and say, you can't go doxing people, threatening people? Like, here's my favorite example is they use false allegations. Here's one: false accusation of domestic violence, false accusation of the R word, false accusation of somebody being the P word. And my audience knows what words I mean. People who have problems with women or children and sex. And these are all false allegations being leveled against anybody that is questioning the narrative. And we also simultaneously, I've been tracking this. I'm keeping spreadsheets. There are hundreds and hundreds of brand new nameless, faceless Twitter accounts that will argue with you for 17 hours if you're dumb enough to become involved. Now I check. If somebody's, arguing with me or challenging me on something I've said, if you're a brand new nameless, faceless Twitter account, given that Lou Elizondo has admitted to using fake accounts, we've got Christopher Mellon sending his son out on his Twitter account. Like, you don't even know who you're talking to. But the vitriol from this hate group that is continually harassing anybody who goes against the narrative, it seems like to me, John, this seems like a perception management operation. They're trying to manage people's perception of this, and they're using all these dirty tactics to do it. Why wouldn't Christopher Mellon and Lou Elizondo say, don't do this in our name, we don't condone this? It's almost as if they want this happening, or they should speak up. Be a man. Like, if one time somebody accused somebody who worked with or for me of doxing, and I said I would absolutely never work with somebody that would do that to somebody, and they claimed that I directed it or something. No, none of that happened. And I immediately came out against it. I don't condone, no matter anybody's belief system, I wouldn't condone these tactics. They're literally accusing people completely and totally false crimes. I've been accused of being a felon. Somebody recently, John, they said that I was on the sex offender registry in the state of Pennsylvania. No, I'm not. It's a public record. Anybody can check it. I'm not on there. I've never been arrested of a crime, let alone a sex crime. Like, what is with this vitriol? Is it just that these people are so ingrained in their delusional belief system that they can't stand anybody that is, popping the delusion bubble?
Well,
this is vicious.
This is bare knuckle fighting. I mean, what did anyone expect when you go up against the deep state and the national security state and all the alphabet agencies and everything who want to control a narrative? You're going to get street fighting. I mean, what do you think, Jess?
I guess that makes sense.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why they're trying to go after Neil deGrasse Tyson is that, he's low-hanging fruit. And Grusch, challenged him to a debate months ago. And then you have Nolan coming out and doubling down on it. So they're obviously trying to bait him.
It's coordinated.
Yeah, they're trying to bait him into it. They have obviously gone over all of the arguments that they can use against him. And it's just another weapon in their arsenal. So I think, probably they are ready to take him on and to tear him down. And that will just be something that bolsters up their entire platform. So if he's stupid enough to, like, I personally, I would love to see it, but I also know that, but I also know that they're ready for it and they want it just to make themselves look better.
Yeah, I want to thank Lord Ludicrous. Thank you, Lord Ludicrous says, what an awesome panel. Jess rocks. Stephen is one of the best researchers in the biz, and John is awesomely, honestly, great show. Thank you, Lord Ludicrous, longtime show supporter. The situation with some of these guys, though, come on. Avi Loeb is still making money off of a book on Amazon claiming that Oumuamua was an interstellar object, and it's been largely disproven.
Wasn't his story. That story came out long before him.
Okay, but he's the one profiting from the story that Oumuamua was an interstellar
who first said it?
spaceship.
You know who first said it?
I didn't know. I know. I wasn't aware.
Corey Good.
That's wonderful.
Corey Good
So
said it on Gaia. I watched it. It was years and years ago.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
So now
Abby Loeb is getting his his
Right.
stories from space grifters, secret space grifters.
You see, here's the thing. I mean, we can say the truth is on our side. I mean, I think everyone on your show and everything, it's like we're not doing this because we want to take a stab at the man or get back at my cousin. No, I mean, it hurts me that I have to do this against him, but those guys are living a lie, whether they understand it or they know it precisely or not. It's a lie. Now, I can't tell you if everything I believe in is true. It's my belief system. You're the same way. Jess is the same way. We're all the same way. But those guys, they're like the Nazi propaganda. I mean, they'll do anything to keep this narrative going. And I think we are seeing some signs of it crumbling.
It's about time.
We should be very vigilant.
The media. This is another problem. The media is a huge problem in all of this.
It's the biggest problem. The American public and the media. The American public.
Here I have from the Huffington Post. This is from a few years ago. And by the way, the mainstream media are just now finally catching up to this whole idea that maybe a few kooky people with government ties or from former government are pushing this narrative. But this is a perfect example from the Huffington Post. Former manager of DoD Aerospace Threat Program. UFOs are real. Well, they didn't even fact check if he was actually the manager of a DoD Aerospace Threat Program. And by the way, he wasn't. And it's like this copy paste journalism, and they're just repeating things that these people say. It is the worst.
It's always been bad, but today it's so much worse.
Look, there's so many. Spaceship.
News Nation. Where'd that come from? Chicago. It came out of nowhere, and the CIA bought it. And I mean, come on. There's no free press anywhere in the world. Not really. Alternative.
Independent. There's independent
but none of
media
the big
still.
outlets, BBC or the New York Times. They're all in on it. So the weird thing is they know they can't shut the internet down. They can't shut off dissenting voices, opposition voices. So what do? They just keep muddying the waters with more shit. And repetition is the Nazi propaganda tactic by Goebbels.
Yeah, just keep repeating it, right?
Monkey see, monkey do. They repeat it. Oh, Lou Elizondo, hero. Chris Mellon, hero. The new government narrative. There are heroes. They keep repeating it because they know that's a tactic that does work.
Yeah, and just the whole thing is just bizarre to me. Like if you Google search Dave Grusch, you get like you can't. You're right, John, with what you said earlier. You can't get to the bottom of the stories about Grusch. But we're on 239 days now, and he still hasn't provided a single shred of any evidence. And there's people that are ripping apart this whole narrative. It's 239 days. Though. Where is the evidence? Like, do you think he's ever going to show
evidence of anything? I mean,
is
none
he ever
of
going
us
to show evidence?
A film.
No, but if he's saying, "Oh, I talked to these firsthand whistleblowers," where are they? You talked to 40 people that told you that they had firsthand knowledge, or they touched the craft, or they did this, or they did that. Where are they at? Let's interview them.
They're running for the hills now.
And, and I'd like to make a point about. I'd like to make a point about that.
Yeah,
he says that he has, everybody's saying, "Oh, there's 40 whistleblowers." No, there's a huge difference between 40 people that you have spoken to, that you have questioned, versus whistleblowers. Okay, you can go to any UFO conference, throw a freaking dart, and find 40 people you can interview, right?
That's
so
exactly it. Yeah.
So we don't know exactly how many of these people that are actual. We know Eric Davis is one, because Eric Davis is come out.
Sure Eric Davis is one, and he's a wackadoo. He's a total wackadoo.
And he's, Grusch said that he brought a couple. Yeah, he said that he brought a couple of people with him to the ICIG. to back up his claims. Okay, who were those people? They won't name names. They won't name names of people who have already come out and said, hey, you know, I was one of these people. You know why?
And
Because
they are
once they name those
disclosure and
names,
transparency advocates.
exactly.
These people are disclosure and transparency advocates, but they can't be transparent themselves, because I think you're right, Jess. Once people know who those names are, people like me who've been saying all his sources are already known wackadoos will be proven right, and the whole thing falls apart. It all collapses.
We all know. We know. We've known from the beginning who these people were. They won't do it because it makes them look bad. We know these stories. They're repetitive. They've been the same stories for the past 40 freaking years. Same names right now. Like for forever.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's nothing new.
Davis,
I mean, in the handful of guys that are new, like there's nothing that they're bringing to the table until they actually come out and say it.
Well, no, some of those Greer whistleblowers sure have fun stories, but none of them have any evidence. So to me, it's like you're going to hold a whole event where people just tell stories and none of these guys have any evidence. And that also isn't the use of the term whistleblower, John or Jess. It's just totally lost any value. Show me another so-called whistleblower that made allegations, but then waited 239 days to show proof of his allegations. You can't. Those people aren't real. So this whole whistleblower thing is a joke. No consequences.
Semantics.
No, yeah.
It's semantics, because they're arguing that the term whistleblower is anybody who shines light. Grusch, his term whistleblower is anybody who shines light on some, you know, misappropriation of funds or whatever. And I guarantee that he probably uncovered some of that. I do believe that he uncovered some of that.
Waste
so
and
it technically
abuse.
makes him a whistleblower.
How hard is it? How hard is it to find waste and abuse within the United States government if you start digging? So I'm for sure he found some waste and abuse. But where I have a problem is where all these people are brainwashed into thinking that the intelligence community inspector general is somehow investigating his alien and UFO claims. They're not. Call them. Call the media spokesperson for that man. Ask them if they're only investigating the claims of reprisals against him and the fraud and abuse, which is their purview, fraud and abuse. They could care less about what this guy is saying about aliens and UFOs. So this is like a perfectly constructed grift, because they just go, well, I gave all the evidence to the intelligence community inspector general and he's investigating. No, he's not. He's not investigating any of these alien claims. He's not. Go check, you know?
I think you tend to think everything is a grift. Some of it is. I don't think all of it is. The three whistleblowers that Greer had, I know Eric, I know one of them well. He's a friend of mine. He stayed with me. The other two I asked around D.C. to military people, and they said, well, they're genuine military people. They didn't seem like they were lying. So I have to support Greer's whistleblowers at his press conference. I think they were legit. People can call me crazy or whatever.
We can agree to disagree on that one then, John.
Well, that's
but
fine.
Again,
but
what's with all these whistleblowers that can't give you any evidence, but they're all
nobody has any goddamn evidence of anything.
Okay, then why speak on it then? Then you're useless with no
one
evidence.
in the disclosure movement has any evidence of shit. You know, I mean,
it's
like everyone wants proof and evidence, and I'm like, what constitutes proof in our reality? If I show you a rock that I said come off of a UFO, how do I prove that? No one can. This whole thing, the secrecy kind of hides itself because there's, you know, until a mothership lands in the Washington Mall and everyone gets out and starts greeting everyone, you know, then I think we've got some evidence. But until then, you know, I like to consider everyone's story. John,
I like that about you. One of the reasons I like John is because John gets into the wacky of the woo. Like he goes,
I want to know everything.
He's listening to the secret space program people that have superpowers, and he'll at least hear them out and then make a decision about some of them.
Why not?
But it's frustrating to me. It's frustrating when you make all this money. By the way, come on, John. Greer's latest thing is like $4,000 to attend. Come on, man.
Expensive. I agree. It's a little expensive.
But the one guy that Greer did have, that Herrera, I can't remember his name, but you know who I'm talking about. The guy who had the craft, who saw the people, being taken and stuff, and he said it was like a whole special ops like operation, like in deep in the jungle where they were like trafficking people and stuff. Like, if you take that and you wrap your mind around the fact that that could be the U.S. operating and doing that with our black technology, that's something that's huge. That's a huge freaking story, and I don't think it gets enough attention.
And it could be corporate, because corporations, the stories of corporations having their own black ops teams, like Deutsche Bank, there's a rumor that they could hire mercenaries to do this kind of
absolutely
work with a very, very high clearance, knowing they could be killed if they talked about it. So when I talked to Herrera after the show, I asked him, I said, were those guys like private mercenaries? He's like, yeah, they were like Wackenhut or Blackwater guys. They were former military, but they weren't anymore. But they were ruthless. They would kill anyone, even their own fellow Marines or whatever. He said they were the nastiest people he'd ever seen. That jives with a lot of stuff I know. Things have to resonate with everyone. And if
exactly
they resonate with you, that's fine. But they resonated with me that it's private corporations doing this. And they're doing trade with certain ET groups. And the ET groups is like, here's my keys to my UFO. What the fuck do I get? And they say, anything you want, Mr. ET, anything. And they'll go get it for them. So it's a dirty world out there. I can tell you that much. And everyone's
the only thing that I can't, it doesn't resonate with me that it's like ET groups. Like it's like, it seems so freaking military to me that it's like they're almost painting it as like, hey, this is an ET group that you're trying to do with this with.
They're doing commerce with somebody out there. And they say, here's a laundry list, go get it. And we'll trade you technology for whatever you get. And they're working for XYZ Corporation. They go round up some people and drugs. Apparently drugs are, popular out there, Scotch whiskey as well, chocolate.
That's wild.
They gather those things in quantity in a big, UFO that's 300 yards wide, and they go and they make an exchange. I mean, it's no different from the British East India Company in their armed ships going all over the world and doing trade and twisting people's arms and saying, you're going to do trade with us, or we're going to blow up your port with our ship. It's the same kind of thing. You're dealing with people that, there's no ethics or morals involved here. Those are luxuries. Ethics and morals in our world, those are luxuries. And Americans sit back and they're like, oh, the world is corrupt. We're not. And it's like, no, everyone's corrupt. And you got to see that. You got to live it. I've lived it. I've grown up inside the deep state. I've seen high finance. I've seen the dirty people who talk about it. There's no morals or ethics anywhere. Very little. So
yeah, that's like that old argument, John.
Our guys wouldn't do that. And it's like
that old argument.
Certain portions of them would.
It's that old argument. Can you really become a billionaire without doing shady shit? I don't think
you're not a billionaire until someone makes you a billionaire. Now, my uncle is a billionaire. He owns Pan Am Systems Railroad, my Uncle Tim. He makes money. He told me he was proud of making money off the intel services hauling their fucking cargo. He doesn't know what's in his cargo cars, but that's what he does. I mean, this is a dirty world, people. We're all arguing about the semantics of it all, but it's really filthy.
Look at how it plays into like today, like all the hot topics of, you see, I don't want to say certain things, because Steve, you can't say certain words, but look at all of the the hot topics. Okay. Look at all of the hot topics of, the trafficking and the abductions of people, like all over the globe. Like it all ties into it. It all ties together somehow. And I think that we're getting very close to seeing how all of this ties together.
It is. It's all tying together. People don't want it to. I don't want it to. I don't want these dots to connect over my lifetime, but they did. And they make sense when you connect all the esoteric dots. It takes a bit of work. You got to know your history, and you got to understand how dirty the world is. I was very naive at 30, and then my dad was like shaking me and saying, this is a dirty world. You better come to grips with it right now. And it's not just the mafia and everyone's involved in it. And if you vote for somebody, folks, and you spend money, you're part of it too. I'm sorry. The money system is dirty, the fiat currency. You vote for somebody, a senator or something, or a congressman, and he passes a bill that favors these corporations who are doing the drug trafficking in the jungle with UFOs. I'm sorry, you voted for them. Everyone has blood on their hands. Everyone's pointing their fingers at everybody, but we all have blood on our hands. I'm telling you. It's a dirty world. We've got to come to grips with it all.
Thank you, Lucy.
So why do you think that nobody else can figure this out, and why do you think that there's so many people that are opposing this and like fighting it hardcore to the death, thinking it's still little green men flying down here and abducting people, and they can't see like what's actually going on?
Well, some of that is happening. Abductions have been happening throughout human history, and they're all colors and all shapes and sizes. They're not little grays. It's everyone has been doing it.
Angels, demons.
Yeah, come on. You know.
So you think that there are physical abductions because you have Kit Green and you have Jacques Vallée and all of these other people who are saying that have said in the past that this is all more of a psychological thing, that it's happening within their minds, and anything that is actually being physical is military. You think that there's actual these things? Tell me.
There's been physical with ETs. If you do the study, you read the book about abductions, it's very real. Some of it is when someone's dreaming and you know, there's consciousness rape or whatever you want to call it. There's some of that too. Everyone likes to think it's this or that. No, it's everything. Everything is going on. All name it.
So what the hell is physical, like abducting people? This is where my mind cannot, it breaks trying to piece these things together. I can see one side or I can see the other, but piecing it together. What is physically taking people? You think people are physically being taken from their homes and pulled up into ships?
On occasion, yeah. Look at the guy who was in Seattle or something. Well, they made that movie about that guy. He was physically taken. They want DNA samples.
By who?
Fuck, I don't know.
There's
thousands, millions of ET races screwing around. Always have been. Everyone thinks it's like 5 different races. No, there's millions of them. You know, I don't know.
Lucy Day gifted 5
I don't know if it was
Truthseekers memberships.
benevolent or aggressive. It's like all this stuff is happening. And it's happening on the physical plane and on the astral plane and in your dreams. Yeah. That's the astral world. So, I mean, everyone's trying to figure out what the truth is. It's like, for me, it's like after a certain time and knowledge of all this stuff, it's like what isn't true is an easier, you know. And I think, fuck it, it's all true. Because where do you draw the line? Nobody can sit in front of me and draw a line and say, no, that's not true. No, how do you know? I mean, it's like all this stuff people talk about and read in their books. It's phenomenal. I mean, there's no end to it. So that doesn't make things easier. It makes them harder. But, you know, I don't see a line in the sand.
No, I agree with you. Like I've always said that I think, you know, for years before I sort of put that to the back burner, I always said that there's a huge mixture of every different, hypothesis that people throw out there. I'm like, you know why we can't figure this out? Because a lot of this stuff is all happening at once, and we can't zone in on it because we're all trying to put it into one little category.
Yeah,
we're all overloaded. It's too much information.
When you
Thank
dream,
you, Lucy Day.
Right, when people go into the dream state, that's very real. You wake up sweating or fearful or aroused or whatever it is. The dream state, a vivid dream, it's very real. Last night I dreamt I was at a ski resort. There was a tiger tank in the snow outside my window, and I was talking to Adolf Hitler, telling him, "You better hide in the trees. They're going to come hang you." That was very real. You know, to me, I woke up and thought, what a silly dream. But to me at the time dreaming it, I was like, holy shit, I'm going to get shot because I'm being seen with you, Adolf Hitler. Now, you know, who's to say what's real and what isn't? I think dreams are perfectly real. The waking state is sort of the same thing, dream all over again, but it's just as real when you have these wild, lucid dreams. I mean, it's like you wake up sweating. It really happens. People have heart attacks and all kinds of things because it's so real. So you're getting into the definition of what reality is, and it's like, wow, that's a very malleable and flexible concept.
Before you go, I want to ask you your thoughts on the whole Elon Musk bringing back Alex Jones and the difference between the two, and your ideas on both and thoughts on both.
I never followed Alex Jones very much. He's more of a sensationalist. It doesn't mean that he didn't have some good points. I think he does believe in the ET phenomenon, if I have to use that word. But who cares? I mean, what Elon Musk thinks. He wants to bring us cars. He's killing people with cars with a hybrid AI system. These people are just unconscionable. And so I don't listen to Elon Musk. He posts stupid things anyway. The guy's mentally disabled. So I don't have an opinion on that. I don't. Alex Jones is not really on my radar. He's not somebody I listen to. I'd rather read a book.
Yeah.
By somebody who took the time to think and like everyone's like, what's the wildest book you've ever read? I said Ashiana Dean, The Voyagers series.
I mean that kind of shocks me, honestly, because you are I see all your posts all the time about Jim Mars, and Alex Jones borrows a lot of stuff from Jim Mars. I don't know if you know it, but if you don't follow him, of course you don't see it.
Yeah, I don't have an opinion on Alex Jones. I just don't follow him.
Yeah, but Jim Mars, I know that you post a lot of stuff about him lately.
Because he's like me. So I took a page from Jim Mars. He tried to boil down all this highfalutin stuff into something that the average person can understand. I really admire that. Not many people can do that. And so I've tried.
Skill. Yeah, that's a skill to be able to explain complicated subjects in a simple way.
Like all these highfalutin people, they all boil down. They just getting around a campfire and naked and singing songs. He had a way of doing that was he was the only one really doing that. There's so many people who talk technical, and sometimes I do too, but he was very good at simplifying concepts.
There was nobody else that ever since, like, who's been able to fill his shoes. But I see you like kind of taking up some of his stuff, and I see that within you. And I was a huge fan of Jim Mars, but yeah, I don't know. That's all I have to say on it. Go ahead, you guys have at it.
I got to say goodnight.
Yeah, he's got to bounce out of here.
I got an early morning.
So,
but
yes, I appreciate you. Jess. I appreciate you and your perspective and helping us shed some light. No better person than you could shed some light on this Christopher Mellon situation and his manipulating Grusch. And
he's very conservative. He's very neocon. He's very reserved, and for him to lose his cool is very strange to me.
Yeah,
so I
agree with you
on there. But I suggest everyone keep a very jaundiced eye on them, because so far I've been waiting to hear something true blue and something that resonates me. That's okay. These guys are doing something above board, but so far nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I thank you for hopping on here. Thank you very much, John. And by the way, I do have a problem with you that I just wanted to mention. John, for those unaware, sent my kids a bunch of astronaut ice cream. And I don't know
I'm going to send you more.
If you don't know what you started, Jess, so he sent my kids this huge thing of astronaut ice cream. And they were going in the pantry without me or my wife knowing and taking them. And they killed this whole box, and then it became this thing of like the younger one's blaming the older one who's autistic for eating it all, So then I have to buy more, and now this is a whole thing now. Like there's always an astronaut ice cream shortage in my house, and I'm, buying it on Amazon or wherever. But anyway, I want to thank you for joining us as well, Jess.
No, that's awesome. I mean, that's freaking awesome. Like, I don't know, John, he's a damn good guest. Everybody has wanted him to, come back on. And I know I asked him probably like 1,000 questions. So, But I had to. He's one of those guys that I could sit here and I could like question him and his opinions on pretty much everything for, until I tire him out. So that was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming here as well. I think I covered most of what I wanted to cover, which is essentially, one of the big problems I have here, Jess, is that all these people are looking to these current people to give them the truth about UFOs. And all these people have been lying to everybody for years, manipulating people, collecting money based on false hope and false promises. I just don't understand how anybody would believe that you're going to get the truth out of these people, and then also, flares is not disclosure. Balloons flying in the wind is not disclosure. Saying this thing's going thousands of miles an hour when it's not, it's an ordinary earthly object, is not disclosure. And so I just don't get it. I'm at a loss here. Like, how does this continue to work? Nobody takes the time, I think, to go into the history, because history is our greatest teacher. Like, if you can see that these people have been caught lying or manipulating or doing shady things over and over and over again, it's like Lucy and the Ball, right? With Charlie Brown. Like, how many times am I going to be fooled by the same people? I'm not. And all these same people are all around Dave Grusch right now.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, they're all around him. Everybody is asking him questions. We know that he is not allowed to answer certain questions. We know that he is on a leash. That's the biggest point of this entire show that you're doing right now, is the fact that Dave Grusch is on a leash. And you've said it, I've said it. Everybody gives skeptics, the bad rep, or like everybody's trying to tear this dude down. I think we all, from everybody that I've spoken to, I think we all have sort of a soft spot for the guy, because we all know that he is on a leash.
Bad for him. He's on a leash. He's getting manipulated, and there's clear evidence that he's being manipulated by other people now. And he's terrified.
We've said it from the beginning.
Of Christopher Mellon. He's terrified of reprisals from Christopher Mellon should he do a show that Christopher Mellon disagrees with, which kind of is like, it's just slimy to me. Like, let the guy do whatever he wants. Why you gotta? Why? But again, like you said, he's on a leash. So again, this transparency and disclosure from a bunch of people that are manipulating a mentally ill autistic man to be their front person. Everybody's making all this money, maybe except Grusch. Who knows? Somebody's got to ask him, how much money you made so far? How much money have your friends made so far?
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to his wife. I'd love for his wife to sit down with me for 5 minutes. That's all it would take. That
I'd love to talk to her and be like, girl, let me tell you something.
Yeah. Do you know your husband's friends have all made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of him? How much did he get? And are you okay with this situation?
I honestly think that he was so just starstruck, and he was so just giddy because it was something that he was interested in.
He was fans.
Yeah, he was a freaking fan. He was like, let's do it. Yeah, I'm like right there with you. Like, I'm gonna jump in balls deep on all of this. And you know what? He got the short end of the freaking stick, because still people are making money hand over fist from him. So you know what? If I had one thing to say to him, I'd be like, dude, you need to start counting your dollars. If everybody's grifting off of this, and we always talk about people grifting. Well, everybody's grifting, but they're all grifting around you, homie. And you are getting the short end of the stick. Maybe, but we don't actually know like what it was, because you remember the whole thing where he was I think he was like, what was his title at the Soul Corporation? Like, what was it? The Soul Foundation?
He's the Chief Operating Officer.
Okay, CEO, so why did they remove
CFO,
him?
Chief Operating.
Okay. Yeah. So what? I mean, he was removed, and he was either demoted, or he was bumped down, or he was like, his title changed. Okay, when your title changed,
or they realized that this looks
there?
bad. They realized this looks bad, and then they wanted to correct it for PR purposes.
I don't give a damn. Like, what
people are saying
corporation
he's
you're
getting
at?
his information. if people are saying he's getting his information from the same old bunch of UFO grifters, and then he's working directly for one of those UFO grifters, the optics, it doesn't look good.
Here's the
And
thing, though. Here's the thing, though.
Who said, Dark Journalist, apparently during his 3-hour conversation, his advice to Grusch is, if you're on the level and your information is real and valid, get the hell away from all these people. These people are using you, manipulating you, and holding you back. Yeah.
So if you are a COO or a CFO, either one of those, you're going to be pulling 6+ figures, right? Because I mean, I've worked in contract. I've been working corporations pretty. But it's even if it's nonprofit, those titles still have to pull in a profit. So a nonprofit, like, it means the company is not making profit, but the people who are on it, they're still being paid. They're being paid salary, right?
Like the Red Cross CEO gets paid, and that's a nonprofit. He gets paid millions.
Right. So that's the thing I'm saying.
The good news is
they're still going to be
because
paid.
it's a charity. The good news is because it's a charity, Jess, they're going to have to file with the IRS. And then I'm going to do a report as soon as that 990 form is available, and I'll be able to show everybody every dime they took in and what they claim they spent it on. That's when things are going to get interesting, because charities have to, by law, file those 990 forms with the IRS, and they become public record. So we're going to know what Grusch was paid eventually from the Soul Foundation.
Right.
And, that'll be an interesting revelation. Yeah, and also I can't say too much, but I just want to make sure that we promote that this Monday we've got quite a hell of a show. This Monday, which will be this Monday, February 5th. I want to just promote that real quick before we bounce out of here. Luis Elizondo, another card falls, new whistleblower speaks out, and also we're going to have Jeremy McGowan, since they had very similar experiences. Interesting. I wanted to have them both. This is going to be another card of this whole false narrative will fall on February 5th, 9 p.m. Eastern time. This has been a long time coming. It's been a sort of background source feeding me information, but I've been encouraging him to come forward and he's going to tell the whole story, how he was contacted, recruited, and it does not paint these people in a good light. What it specifically proves is that Lou Elizondo doesn't give a shit about disclosure. He doesn't care about transparency. He cares about making money. And when this person is done, that will be incredibly clear. Because, Jess, if you knew somebody had important information to the disclosure movement, would you contact them and try to sign them to like a documentary deal so that you could profit from it? Or would you just release the information? This shit is ludicrous. All these people are UFO profiteering whores. They're here for the money. That's what they're here for. That's what they care about. And anybody who thinks otherwise is not paying attention.
That's the thing that drives me nuts, is like, hey, I sat on this information for 2 years because I'm vetting so and so and so and so and so and so. No, you didn't vet nobody. And you know what? I don't give a damn.
Documentary deal to use this. That's what you
I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn who realizes it or who knows what I think about Jeremy Corbell. But the dude has been caught. I have spent months and months and months going over every freaking thing that he has released. And I have spent enough time of my life to say that this motherfucker, like, he lies out through his teeth. He has lied so many freaking times that I cannot even tell you. I could put a fucking Excel spreadsheet down and like post it out of all of his freaking lies that he has done. He lies. Somebody said, "Oh, you're going to call him a liar?" Yes, because I can prove and I can show to you where he has lied over and over and over again. He does. He lies through his freaking teeth.
Well, it's also just a lie by omission, too. That's why their stories work, because they leave out all the important information that would make most people, rational people, understand that they're selling you lies, because they're not giving you the whole story. They're giving you just the part of the story that indicates it might be true. They did it with Bob Lazar. They did it with the Skinwalker scam. They just keep doing this. And here's George Knapp. We got to go. If you have a few more minutes,
No, I'm here. I'm here. I got it. Let's go.
Let's do this because this is wonderful.
Go.
Here is George Knapp actively promoting and profiting from completely and totally fake stories. Completely and totally fake. I think there's three of them. I think there's three of them. Oh, I have to put my fair use banner up here. 1 second. This is fair use. It's a transformative work. We're educating the public about George Knapp, the garbage peddling UFO huckster who never met a fake story that he couldn't sell, never once, he's selling. Good. Did you know this? He's selling the Peruvian aliens bullshit. He sold the Las Vegas aliens bullshit. He has
Knapp has the old school swagger. He's got the old school swagger that you got to respect.
Intelligence officer testified to a congressional committee about a sensational cover-up. The witness claimed to have evidence of UFO crashes and of programs designed to exploit that technology.
Stories about crashed saucers and cover-ups have been around since the end of World War II, but are now being taken seriously. In Washington, 8 News Now chief investigative reporter George Knapp reviews now.
He's their chief investigating officer. How could he miss that these stories are completely and totally fake and have mostly been debunked out the wazoo? It's ridiculous.
The origins of these claims.
When former intelligence officer David Grusch testified last July about non-human craft hidden away for decades inside special access programs, it caught some members of Congress and major media off guard. But the lore of crashed saucers and dead aliens is hardly new. The claims have leaked out many times in the past 76 years.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
There's that buzzword, Jess, biologics.
This happened on July 8th, 1947.
The granddaddy of crash saucer tales is Roswell. The story didn't emanate with UFO nuts. It came from the U.S. military. In 1947, Roswell was home to the world's only atomic bomber wing.
And by the way, I'll give anybody reporting on Roswell if you're doing a story on UFO crashes. It's the most famous one. But these other few that he's going to talk about, completely and totally fake stories.
That summer, a long stretch of strange debris was discovered on a ranch outside of town. The U.S. Army Air Force issued a news release that made headlines. The Army had recovered a crashed disc. 24 hours later, the Army retracted its claim and said it was merely a weather balloon. Mangled bits of flimsy debris were shown to reporters.
But 42 years ago, this is where it all began.
In 1989, our first visit to Roswell, we found the retired Army officer who wrote both releases.
He called and said words to this effect: "We've got pieces of what we think is a flying saucer."
Walter Haut stuck to the official story until the day he died, but left a sworn posthumous statement admitting he'd been ordered to lie, that the recovered craft had been of alien origin, and that small bodies of the pilots had also been recovered by the Army. The story has been backed up by dozens of other witnesses. The U.S. military has changed tunes multiple times in the decades since, later saying the object recovered wasn't a mere weather balloon, but a highly classified spy balloon, and the bodies...
I like, though, just how he flashed some of the proven liars of the Roswell case on the screen as extra evidence,
were mannequins dropped years later. The Air Force declared the case closed in the 1990s, but it hasn't gone away. Roswell wasn't the earliest crash tale. Famed astrophysicist Dr. Jacques Vallée, who worked as a consultant to the Air Force Project Blue Book, told us in 2021 that the very first atomic blast, the Trinity test, caused the crash of a 5-ton avocado-shaped spacecraft.
It didn't blow up into pieces.
The Trinity crash. He's pushing the Trinity crash, which came from William Brophy, a proven UFO fraudster bullshitter, Jess. Knapp is pushing this bullshit. It's been debunked, Jess, this story. Why is he pushing it as a true story? It makes no sense to me.
It was apparently very strong. The tower was bent.
How did I pop you? I didn't mean to pop you off. I'm sorry.
To the ground, and it plowed an avenue all the way down the hill. They made a turn, apparently under power.
Yeah, I'm back.
Stopped against a bump in the terrain.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't know that you popped off somehow.
No, it knocked me off. It's okay. I'm cool. I'm back.
Yeah, so, I forgive anybody for a report. If you're going to do a report on crash flying saucers, of course you got to include Roswell. I'll give you that. But now he's pushing this Trinity case, which is completely, totally fake, by the way. Also, one of the cases that Grusch has mentioned, right? Like, it's just, if these people are after disclosure of the truth, then why don't you give the information that William Brophy, the originator of this story,
I have even brought up. I found things. I found things, dude, like that. I will show you that I have found things from the exact same time, exact same era, like the exact same time this was going on. Avocado-shaped craft that were nothing but balloons that were being tested in the area. Like you could look at it and you're like, oh my God, that's Trinity craft that this dude was talking about.
Let's continue. There's only a couple minutes here.
The kids
1 minute left.
Now, remember, this was 1945, August 1945, 2 years before Roswell. There was no concept of flying saucers.
Intelligence officer David Grusch told Congress there might have been an even earlier crash in Mussolini-era Italy.
And by the way, both of these completely and totally fake stories involve the same person, a known UFO wackadoo liar, profiteer scumbag, William Brophy, who's been caught lying on multiple occasions.
The strange materials recovered were reportedly stashed inside the Vatican. Nevada's connection to alleged UFO crash retrievals was merely whispered for decades until the late 80s, when a former government scientist unleashed explosive allegations about a string of secret hangars built into the side of a mountain near the mysterious Area 51 base.
Well, you got to throw in the Bob Lazar lies too.
Well, there's several, actually 9.
Oh, this is so stupid. If you actually know the truth behind these stories, Jess, this is so stupid. Like, this is for low information, stupid people. That's who Matt is catering to. The people that won't even dig one iota into what he's saying are true stories.
The identity of the witness was later revealed in our reports. Bob Lazar's claims remain controversial to this day.
Controversial? They remain unproven after 30 years. It was a fake scientist, convicted pimp liar who was bankrupt with a convicted murderer wife. He never stepped foot on Area 51. He pretended to be a scientist. And I love it. He calls him a government whistleblower or a government scientist in this. He's neither. They've never proved anything.
The allegations are now permanently etched into the minds of the public. George Knapp, 8 News Now.
Oh, gosh. That's enough. We're done. 4 minutes of,
Well, what I can say is that I know that, I kind of have a soft spot for people who are new, who are coming into it, because there's stages that you go through, right? Mm-hmm. On the forefront, like when you just come into it, you see all this stuff. And I know you've gone through this, I've gone through this, and it takes many, many years to actually go through it all.
Years to digest all of it, yeah, and make up your mind. And actually, especially if you're going to actually research. One of the things that I learned early on is you can't just listen to these people and what they say. You have to fact check everything they say. And as soon as you start doing that, these stories start falling apart. They all start falling apart.
I mean, so I feel soft for some people. Like, I don't even respond to some people. Like, I'm just like, oh, bless your heart, because like they're like at that, and they're at that stage of like, oh, I'm like super pumped about this. Like, I just found this whole new thing that I can get into. And then I'm like, dude, you got like 10, 15 freaking years before you but I hope, I'm hopeful that with everything that's coming out recently, that, that time that you and I spent where it was like 10, 15, 20 years of like diving into this, I hope that that's being condensed into 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, until where it's very, very obvious for new people coming into it what's going on.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. And somebody needs to tell those people, you can't just accept these people are telling you the truth. They act like they are, but all these stories are so deceptively edited, deceptively manipulated. They manipulate the available data. Like George Knapp in this report is a perfect example. He doesn't mention that William Brophy is a complete and total liar who's been caught lying and feeding people completely fake stories and false information. It's like the guy has a hobby of like contacting UFO people and confirming things for them, or
Well,
suddenly
the
his
thing that
father is involved and he's
me
involved
off.
and his brother's involved in this UFO story or that UFO story. If you leave that information out of the report, sure, people might believe that this shit is real. But once you know that the one guy behind two of those cases that he's pumping as true stories was a complete and total bullshitter, the whole thing falls apart, you know?
Well, the thing that pisses me off is that recently, in the past couple of days, George Knapp has recently. Okay, so this should not be fucking allowed. Sorry, excuse me. I know you don't like for me to cuss. So
You're gonna
this
owe me
should not be.
$7 by the you're giving away the entire budget of the show tonight. Our entire
I'm
income
sorry.
of $7 is
Golly.
going to be lost, and I can't fight it because you dropped like 7 F-bombs already. John
No, I
dropped
have
F-bombs.
not. I've been so good. I've like dropped 2. But Warner dropped he dropped a couple more before I did, so he's the one who gave it away. But right now, the thing that pisses me off the most is that the past couple of freaking days here, he has come out with a whole new show that is still promoting this stupid ass Trinity hoax that he knows for a fact, after everything that has been proven, Trinity was not aliens from outer space coming down. It was not. And he's still trying to push it as that. So if you, especially George Knapp at this point in time, if you're still pushing things that you know are a hoax and you're not calling it out, there's nothing else good about you. And people, I hear people say, why people call Jeremy Corbell out and they don't call out George Knapp. George Knapp is just the biggest freaking liar as Jeremy Corbell, if not more. The thing right now is Jeremy Corbell is putting George Knapp up to a lot of shit that I don't think that Knapp would have really gone for initially. But, he's, going with it because of Corbell. So they're both like, there's 2 and 2. Like you've got the witch and the devil, like they're the same.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And so, I mean, the purpose of tonight's broadcast really was to kind of show that, this whole narrative has been pushed by the same people for so long. And it's just funny to me that people can't see through that facade. It's very clear that Mellon has direct ties to Tom DeLonge and Lou Elizondo. He just proved it himself that he has ties to Grusch, and he's who Grusch cannot give stories to. Corbell and Knapp are directly, helping. Were both helping Christopher Mellon push the TTSA garbage, fake stories, and lies. And then you've got Sean Cahill, who's making fake UFO videos in Lou Elizondo's backyard, and is basically just Lou Elizondo's attack dog fluffer. We've got Putoff and Eric Davis, the 2 fake they're real scientists, but they're complete total wackadoos. They've been Putoff especially has been involved in a whole bunch of multi-million-dollar scams. We've got Richard Dolan, who just surrendered to the whole fake narrative that was being pushed. He didn't investigate these guys at all. He just accepted what they were saying as fact. And then we've got Gary Nolan, who Dave Grusch is now working for. It's such an incestuous bunch of people. It's like the same guys.
Incestuous is the perfect word for what it exactly is. Like it's incestuous. Like you cannot tie anybody back to anybody else. They're all tied together so tightly, so closely. They're on top of each other.
Yeah, I completely and totally agree with you. Well, I think we've done our due diligence, Jess. I wanted to shed some light on this. People have been saying that Christopher Mellon is the puppet master behind this. He's on record with To the Stars Academy saying that he's their Washington, D.C. connection. It makes me wonder who's pulling Mellon's strings, though, because
exactly.
I believe John's right. The real puppet masters are behind these guys in the shadow, pulling their strings as well. But they
I've
remain.
thought that for years. I've
Yeah.
thought that for like 4 or 5 years now. Like I've even told that to people like for 4 or 5 years now. Who's pulling Mellon's strings? Who's making Mellon do this? Because he's obviously pulling some strings, and there's
And
other people.
He doesn't need the
Other
money.
people. But
He
who's
doesn't need
behind
the money.
Mellon?
And he obviously doesn't need the money. I will accept that criticism. A lot of people have said that to me. Well, it's not like he needs the money. Why would he be grifting off of UFOs? Who knows? But here's another thing. If I had his net worth is reported to be billions, which makes sense, Mellon banking family. If I was involved in something scammy and I had billions of dollars and regular working people were scammed out of a few $1 million, I would just pay them back. Because that's what a real honorable man would do. But instead, we get this slimy, why won't he go on the record and talk about TTSA? Why won't Lou Elizondo go on the record? Maybe the rumors about the legal problems they may be facing about that are true. There's got to be a reason they won't talk about it on the record, and they only do these shows that aren't going to ask them about that shit, right? They won't do my show because I'll ask them, what happened to the money? Why did you lie to everybody and collect all those millions of dollars? And how much was your cut? Like, these are serious questions somebody should ask these guys, but they're terrified of real, investigative journalists like me. They can't take the heat, so they just run, making these slimy comments on Twitter. Mellon's going after John from the Black Vault and Dark Journalist, and I think he knows that the facade is coming down. And
well, you see everybody melting down.
They are melting. Yes.
You see their emotion. They've always held their emotion in, and all of a sudden they're like breaking the hell down, and they're like everywhere. And I don't know if you know this, but like if you pay attention to like some of the stuff that John Warner has said in the past, like he gives some indications of like where all this is coming from and what all is happening. He may not want to be, because I mean, it is his family, right? He's not going to like put everything out on face value, but you can see kind of what's going on. But they are all melting down, and you can see it.
I think you're right. Yeah, they're definitely losing it because you can only push this false narrative without evidence for so far. It's like the Grusch is a perfect example. How long are you going to push this thing before everybody says it's 250 days, it's 300 days? Like, where's your evidence? Or shut the fuck up. Like, now would be the time. You're gonna testify before Congress. That's the time to say, here's the proof, bitches. But nobody does that. I want to take a moment to thank Lucy Day, who gifted 5 memberships, became a member herself. Thank you very much, Lucy Day, and then gifted 5 more Truthseekers memberships. So if you're not a subscriber, just so you know, when people gift memberships, YouTube has some sort of way that they take those gifted memberships and just randomly give those Truthseekers memberships to subscribers here. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button. And we have High Speed Chess. Chase, thank you for being a member. Kind and generous $5 super chat says, question for Jess. Do you believe that extraterrestrials exist?
I don't necessarily believe that extraterrestrials as an extra, spatial, like from other galaxies exist, but I also, still hold that in a realm of possibility. I have a whole gigantic, ideology that it would be like, it would take me 2 hours to explain to you my whole ideas on it. So yeah, I think there's something else out there besides humans to be short on that. I don't think that we're the only ones. I think that something else is here, but I think it's a little bit different than the whole, narrative that we're being fed.
That's fair. And now he has another strange question for you. This one's weird. Question
Go
for
ahead.
Jess. Question for Jess. Do you think that Chris Mellon and crew are behind closed doors being Wookiee spankers? I'm not sure what that means. Are they spanking Wookiees? What?
Yes, sounds kind of kinky. I don't know about that.
High speed chase.
I'm not sure on that one.
Thanks for giving us a laugh anyway. And we want to take a moment to thank all of you kind and generous people who are helping us to raise the cash. We have Eric Moyer with a kind and generous $4.99. That's for the swear jar. So somebody made up for all your F-bombs. So we should be okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry, darling. I don't want to do it again.
We're going to take a moment to thank you all for helping us to praise the cash.
I always warn you before I come on. I'm like, dude, you know me.
No, it's fine. You know what? They kind of calmed down on that. Here's another strange thing, Jess.
I've been good too. Like I've been trying to mind my P's and Q's.
Up until a few weeks ago, they demonetized every one of my streams, no matter if somebody cursed, didn't curse, we did everything we could to be within advertiser-friendly guidelines. They would still demonetize all of our streams. And then I started noticing that most of the streams getting demonetized were being critical of this false UFO narrative. But suddenly, after Kirkpatrick, now the streams aren't getting demonetized. I hate to get too conspiratorial, but it's like maybe the op has changed and now you're allowed to question these people. Like they know it's falling apart, so they're pulling the control mechanisms away.
Or maybe they realize it's a moneymaker and they're like, oh, shake it. Let's go.
Yeah, you're probably right. All right, well, we're going to bounce on out of here. I appreciate you coming here and offering your unique perspective. After all, you're one of the few people I know that has been following this since 2017 and before.
Way before 2017.
Yeah, but see, that's a problem because some of these people don't know the history. So when they see Linda Howe making fantastic claims that they like, they believe them because they don't know the history of all of the fake claims that so many of these people have made.
I grew up, I was like 5, 6. I had uncles like talking to me about this stuff, and I grew up in this, and I was like, "You're crazy talking about reptilians," you know. It was genetic for me. It's just natural. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I never had any relatives into this growing up, but I got into it myself. You know, that trip to the library, like, oh man, a book on Bigfoot. You know, my dad's like, what are you reading that nonsense for? Fucking monkeys in the woods, you asshole.
You're right.
He was not a fan of my paranormal enthusiasm, you know?
Dude, my very first dreams that I remember were like witches and stuff, like aliens like in the parking lot chasing me. I was like 5, 6 years old. So I mean, like, you know, sometimes people are genetically predisposed to certain things. So that's why I'm here. And cheers. Like, you know, it was a good show and I appreciate you having me on, and we can do it again.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Don't be a stranger. And thanks
Never
for all
will.
your help. All right. Good night, Jess. All right. Well, that's another one. We're going to bounce on out of here. Done our due diligence. Majorly, we wanted to kind of connect some of these dots and show you that the very same people that are running this current Grusch narrative were all involved in this total, what has been described as a techno scam, where millions of dollars were defrauded from the public based on lies, half-truths, maybes, hope-sos, possibilities. And again, to my knowledge, nobody has been prosecuted for that yet. And I still keep going back over and over again in my head that there's got to be a reason that people are clearly lying to investors while soliciting public investment money, and yet nobody is prosecuted for it. And that leads me to believe that there is some connection to a government psyop. I hate to get too conspiratorial. That plus the evidence I've seen of a literal perception management campaign taking place on UFO Twitter, whereby if you're critical of Lou Elizondo, Gary Nolan, Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, all the people we've talked about, were especially Christopher Mellon, suddenly all of these nameless, faceless, brand new Twitter accounts come out of nowhere to tell you how wrong you are and what great and honorable men and heroes these people are. Why are all the people defending them brand new nameless, faceless Twitter accounts? And who's running all those nameless, faceless Twitter accounts? These are important questions. I wish I knew Elon Musk, right? So that we could find out. Like, imagine if we could trace all of those nameless, faceless Twitter accounts down to a few people's IPs. Like, what a revelation that would be. Somebody's running all these fake, nameless, faceless accounts. This whole thing smacks of a perception management operation, something that intelligence people are known to be good at. Also, coupled to this, the fact that from 2017 forward, there has been an onslaught of three-letter agency people, CIA people, DIA people, FBI people, more CIA people, all infiltrating the UFO community with a certain purpose, it seems, which is to promote this, which was at the time in 2017, a false UFO threat narrative. That's what it was before. Now it seems to be, evolving, but it's all the same people. It's all the same people that were completely wrong and lied to us all before. There's that old saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. If we're dumb enough to let these same group of people lie to us again for years, they've already lied to us for years, then we deserve to be deceived. We also deserve to be ripped off if we are stupid enough to give some of these people our money, our hard-earned money, for the nonsense that they're selling. We're going to be detailing on tomorrow night's show some of the UFO profiteering whores that are just going apeshit right now, trying to grab every UFO dollar they can. We've got Richard Dolan and his wife selling people courses on their superpowers. Did you know that? Richard Dolan's wife has superpowers? It's awesome. And we've got Stephen Greer charging $4,000, I think. We'll give you the actual number. Please don't hold me to that. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I got to come up with a good title. It's going to be something like UFO Profiteering Whores. But, yeah, YouTube's not going to like that title. So any suggestions, please put them in the comments here or in the YouTube live chat. I'll take just a couple of comments from the live chat. We want to thank you. Boy, we had great attendance again tonight. And somebody mentioned that we are racing towards an old goal, which was 10,000 subscribers. We need just a few hundred more. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. When I started this show, one of my original goals was to have 10,000 subscribers. And the reason that was a goal is because many content creators on YouTube told me that it's really difficult. But after you hit 10,000, things get easier. So I set that as a goal. Well, then let's get to the easy part. We've been swinging and hitting here for 3 years. We have provided what I think is a valuable community resource of critical thinking and actual investigation, actual fact-checking here of really an out there subject, admittedly, UFOs, the paranormal, and all of this stuff. And I really do think that what we do here is a public benefit. So I would appreciate if you would like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. We saw there's 10 free memberships for those unaware. If you become a Patreon supporter for $1 or a YouTube channel member for $5, you get a couple of extra goodies in the member section or the Patreon section. But anyway, if you subscribe, you may be one of those people that YouTube just randomly gives a free membership to. So make sure that you smash that subscribe button. It really does help. Foxy's Friends is here and says, should have had 10K 3 years ago. Blast out shorts every day. You would get there real quick. Foxy, don't take this the wrong way, but there's an awful lot of experts out there who tell me things like this. So have you done that and gotten to 10,000 subscribers? Deserves 100K. I appreciate you for that. But, we're trying to do the problem is I don't have time to do YouTube shorts. I really don't. Some kind and generous people have decided to help me do that. We'll hopefully be starting that soon. I think you may be right. Shorts may be the way to go. Amy Collins is here. Welcome, Amy, and says, if anything, after Dolan met his second wife is when he sold out and got weird. Well, we talked about it before. Growing up, there was a lot of girls. It was very popular for a time for a girl to decide she was Wiccan, and she had spell books and candles and crystals and shit. And I didn't really believe they had superpowers, but I would let them talk because I was trying to bang them. Look at Richard Dolan. He got a girl that claims she has superpowers. He's going to just let her. He's going to play along. As long as he gets to bang her, he's going to have to play along with her having superpowers. But now it gets dirty because now he's using his wife to sell people a course on his wife's fake superpowers. And we're going to have quite a challenge for Tracy Dolan. Is that her name, or did she take back her name, or I don't know. High Speed Chase is here. Thank you. Says Steven, watch out for the Wookiee spankers. I don't know what a Wookiee spanker is, but like, does that somebody that like grabs a Wookiee's cock and starts giving them a JO, like a handy? Is that what you mean? This is confusing. I don't know. And a question, Moondust says, Steven, any chance to get Richard Hoagland on as a guest? Well, would I interview Richard Hoagland? Sure. Would he do it? I doubt it. If you like, I give you my word of honor, I will message him and ask him to do a show. But I'm going to be very critical of his Face on Mars claims, his Cydonia Pyramids claims, because largely I think Richard Hoagland is full of shit, so it's going to be one of those Evel Knievel interviews if he agrees to do it. But you and several other people have asked me, and by the way, he's one of those longtime fixtures of the UFO and aliens community that I never have done an interview with. So I'm always up to do that. I will email him. Somebody told me you have to email him. He's old school like that. He's still bouncing around. I think he does some kind of radio show or something. I'll message him. I'll do it just for you, Moondust. Tiki71, if you want to know what the deep state is up to, look who YouTube is demonetizing. Oh, that's good advice, I think. I can't disagree, right? I can't say I disagree. What do you think an ultimate goal of this controlled intel disclosure is? It has to amount to something, in my opinion, too much effort put into it. Well, like many people, I think that this is the junk sort of conspiracy that is put out to put people off the trail of the real conspiracy. People are often very critical of me, but I haven't said that there has been no UFO or alien crash retrievals. What I've said is there's little or scant or no real and verifiable evidence of that, and that many of the stories fall apart under scrutiny. And by the way, I will put my fact-based reporting about UFO crash retrievals against George Knapp's any day, because we did, I think, 14 crash retrieval cases, maybe more. And in each of them, we showed all the evidence. George Knapp shows you only part of the evidence. And he does that for a reason, because he can't sell it as a true story. And people don't really care about fake stories. So if you just say, hey, here's this fantastic story of a UFO and alien crash retrieval, and then you show how fake it is with evidence and on the record sources, it's not going to sell. So all of these people are specifically designing these stories to sell for our clickbait generation, right? Lucy is here, Lucy Day, and says, Ex-Annihilator, what disclosure? Nothing whatsoever has been disclosed by the government. It's only coming from the grifters. Yeah. And track record matters, and all these people that we have shown you, it's if you look into their history, that's another thing. Don't their history matters? Like, how many times are you going to let these people sell you a completely and totally fake story before you say these people are not honest? They're liars, they're scammers, they're grifters, right? We'll put it up again. The Lou Elizondo and Tom DeLonge, well, they sold us the TTSA lies. Somebody collected millions of dollars over those lies. Somebody got a television show deal. Somebody got a book deal. But it was all largely based on bullshit. Then we have Dave Grusch. Hundreds of thousands of dollars has been generated by his stories so far. We've proven that. And 239 days now, he's still shown no evidence. We've got Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, who keep getting caught over and over and over and over again, huckstering completely and totally fake stories. We've got Sean Cahill, who got caught faking a UFO in Lou Elizondo's backyard. And he's kind of a useful idiot, probably shouldn't even have been on this list, but I couldn't think of another one of these people that I believe is directly involved in this false narrative. Then we've got Hal Puthoff, who's been involved in multiple multi-million-dollar UFO scams, including TTSA, which has been described as a techno scam, and I believe the Joe Firmage thing. He was also directly involved in the $22 million wasted by Bob Bigelow. Same for Eric Davis. He was involved in the Bob Bigelow waste of $22 million, but he wants more funding to continue paranormal research. Of course he does. Of course he does. Then we've got Richard Dolan. He sold the Wilson notes, completely fake, in my opinion. He sold the Roswell slides hoax, completely fake. And then, he teamed up with Corbell to do the fake CIA deathbed confession video. How many fake stories has Richard Dolan been involved in? Then we have Gary Nolan involved in the fake Atacama humanoid thing with Stephen Greer. He was also involved in a completely and totally fake story with Ross Coulthart, where those guys claimed they had conclusive proof of alien technology, all confirmed by this man. Cut to a shot of Michio Kaku, but they didn't have shit. Not only did they not have proof of alien technology, they didn't have proof of anything in that documentary. It was so bad and used such deceptive tactics, they took it off of YouTube because they could lose their YouTube channel for using deceptive editing and deceptive tactics in the trailer. These are not people that tell you the truth. How are you going to a bunch of liars, grifters, and proven hoaxers to get the truth about something? We can't do this. We can't accept these people anymore. They should all be banished, right? And by the way, can we have a 3 strikes rule? Like if you get caught selling 3 completely and totally fake stories, you're done. Even by that standard, most of the people on our list of Christopher Mellon's puppets would get knocked out if there was a 3-strike rule. Jesus, we just saw George Knapp push 2 completely and totally fake stories in one report. How many more? The flares. George Knapp is out. Corbell's out. Pyramid spaceships, flares, jellyfish. 3, he's done. And add the Bob Lazar fake story. What about Puthoff and Eric Davis? How many fake stories have they been involved in? How many UFO-related multi-million-dollar scams has Hal Puthoff been directly involved in? How much money did he waste at Stanford research studying people that claim they have superpowers and declaring they did when they were using children's magic tricks, right? How many fake stories? Richard Dolan, Gary Nolan, all these people. Listen, it's not like they did it once. If somebody pushed a fake story once, well, they made a mistake. This is a pattern, a proven pattern of manipulation, deceit, lie by omission, and pushing completely and totally fake information, false information, disinformation, and false narratives. It all falls apart under scrutiny. And I, for one, encourage you to scrutinize these people. When they say something, don't believe them. Fact check every word they say. Once you do, you too will begin to peel back the layers of deception that these people use to push these false narratives for cash. Most of them are in it for cash. I'll concede Christopher Mellon's a billionaire worth a few $100 million at least, by some reports. He doesn't need the money. But one thing you know about rich people, once they have enough money, they usually want something else, like power or fame. So let me know what you think in the comments or in the live chat. Is Christopher Mellon the false disclosure puppet master? We can directly tie him to all of these people that have been pushing very similar or the same narrative story, the UFOs, that they're a threat and the government has recovered crashed spaceships and alien bodies and all of this shit. And there's a huge cover up, but they never prove anything. Well, I'm wrong. They do prove something. They all prove that they sell fake stories and they love money. That's what we know for sure, that they have proved, that they all love UFO dollars. So I think we've done our due diligence, friends. I'll take a couple of more questions. Please put them in all capital letters. I'm somewhat new to your channel. Which of your past videos would you recommend the most? Go to the YouTube search bar and search murder. There's one story that we did, which I think was one of the best stories we've ever done. It's called Murder in UFO Land, the Christopher Gray story. Then go and check for crash UFO crash. Just put that in the search term, and you'll see we've done a whole series of these UFO crash retrievals. All these stories, it's mythology, it's stories, and these stories, there's no there for most of them. All the stories fall apart. Other than that, we have some excellent interviews. You could search by name, or we've covered many of these people before. And welcome, 16th Doc, and thanks for being a member, new YouTube channel member, and we appreciate you. Glad that you found us. Always glad to find some new friends. Thanks for finding us. King Bull, the jellyfish UFO looks like a deflated balloon. Could be. Wait, Werner just said that also, didn't he? Seriously, if they thought that was an actual UFO, what may have tried to capture it? Yeah, I'm not really sure. Warner doesn't need the money. What's his angle? Well, I don't know. I can't look into the guy's heart and soul, but I know him enough, having interviewed him a few times now. I think this is the third time that he was a guest on the show. He has an insane interest in all things esoteric, paranormal, aliens, UFOs, secrets of the universe, conspiracies. He's like all in on all of it. He's just intensely interested. So I think that's his angle, just intense interest, right? I thought I heard Werner say there are crash retrieval and aliens that the government is working with. I think he believes that. I need to see more evidence of that. High Speed Chase says, Stephen, when will Mr. Warner be back? Not sure. But he's welcome here anytime. And Moondust says, Stephen, would you have Richard Doty on? I interviewed him once, and I did that for a specific purpose. I was actually writing what I thought would be a book at one time, and I wanted to confirm certain things with him. I don't trust him as far as I could throw him. He's a known paid government disinformation, an admitted known paid government disinformation agent. So he's also been deeply involved in so many fake UFO stories, including the MJ-12 documents, Serpo, Dulce Base, and more. So I don't believe that anything that he's saying is true or accurate. Amy Collins says Werner was actually into the Freemasons, as I recall. Yeah, that's interesting. X-Annihilator says, do you think Corbell is basically the replacement for DeLong as useful idiot hipster? Yeah, that's a very good point. A lot of people have suggested that, right? So listen, we thank all of you for your kindness, generosity, and support. We want to thank you YouTube channel members, you Patreon supporters. By the way, it's the 30th. You know what that means? Every month, I say I'm not going to do it, but every month I wait too long, and then I have to hurry up and get that extra goodies to you Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members. I'm going to try to do one weekly going forward, because I think that will improve my anxiety level. Every month, when the month starts ticking down, I go, oh, I got to do that extra video. Oh, I got to do that extra video. So I apologize. I'll be working on that tonight after the show, and we'll get it to you. And we thank you all for your kindness, generosity, and support. It really, really does help. King Bull says, even though I'm a believer on NHIs, I'm with you at this point. We need to see some evidence instead of the trust me, bro claims. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I agree with that sentiment 100%. So we have done our due diligence here, friends. I want to thank all of you for joining us, and thank those of you who have become supporters of the show. It really does help if you smash that like button on the way out of here. So be sure to do that. I will be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We have done several shows focusing specifically on the UFO money. And I have prepared, I am going to have some slides and things for tomorrow to really drive home the point. For those unaware, UFOs and aliens is a billion-dollar industry in entertainment. I think it's important that we recognize that when we evaluate the claims coming from these UFO profiteers who are in on that billion-dollar industry trying to get their slice of the pie. Follow the money. is good advice. And tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, we will be following the money. I hope you'll be here with us. I want to thank John William Warner IV and the wonderful Jess at Go Kicks Rocks. I always can't get her thing. What is it? Let me give her a shout out on her Twitter. She's on Twitter muckraking every day. And you can follow her on Twitter. It's at go_kick_rocks88 on Twitter. And I will add that to the description of the video after the broadcast. We thank each and every one of you for joining us. We thank our wonderful guests. This was one of those fun ones, right? Sometimes I just get to talk to really cool and interesting people, and I get to take you with me. So glad for you to be here with me. Please be here with me tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I think you're going to enjoy tomorrow night's show. It should be very revealing. So that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you, including you, Mr. Mellon. I hope that you find something better to do with your time than hanging out with a bunch of UFO proven liar, grifter, scammers pushing a completely and totally false narrative. I will pray that you will use your prestigious family and money to do something more constructive for your fellow humans. Lying to people and deceiving people so that your UFO grifter pals can make a bunch of money doesn't seem like a good use of your family legacy or, almost limitless financial resources. But I'm going to pray that you find something better to do. I'm also going to pray that you tell the truth about what happened with TTSA, and maybe find it in your heart, since you have so much money, to give all the victims of that, what has been described as a techno scam, give all those victims their money back. God knows you have it. That's something that a real and honorable man would do. At least I would. But anyway, that's all I got for you, friends. Good night, and God bless all of you.
We grifters, 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 we grifters.
Shape the emerging UAP narrative. Remember those words, folks. Shape the emerging UAP narrative. Remember those words, folks.
I'm an intel guy. 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 I'm an intel guy.
We grifters, 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 we grifters.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
We grifters, we grifters.
Remember those words.
We grifters, we grifters.
Remember those words.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes. Say yes.
Luis Elizondo.
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 Bobby Loeb, Kevin Knuth, Gary Nolan, Jacques Delay. Bobby Loeb, Kevin Knuth, Gary Nolan, Jacques Delay.
Disclosure process? Absolutely. Disclosure process? Absolutely. Disclosure process? Absolutely. Disclosure process? Absolutely.
Diana Pasoka, Hal Puda. Diana Pasoka, Hal Puda. Diana Pasoka, Hal Puda. Diana Pasoka, Hal Puda.
Disclosure process? Absolutely. Disclosure process? Absolutely. Disclosure process? Absolutely. Disclosure process? Absolutely. This is not a joke. Like none of this was a joke. This is not a joke. A joke. This is not a joke. Like none of this was a joke. This is not a joke. A joke. Entertainment. 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 Entertainment.
What is catastrophic disclosure of catastrophic disclosure? And don't forget, what is catastrophic disclosure of catastrophic disclosure? And don't forget,
Controlled disclosure
of catastrophic,
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 controlled disclosure
of catastrophic, societal disruption,
catastrophic disclosure
catastrophic
disclosure
societal disruption,
catastrophic disclosure
catastrophic
disclosure
catastrophic disclosure, 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 catastrophic disclosure,
psychological, theological, philosophical,
philosophical, theological, psychological, philosophical, psychological, philosophical,
psychological, theological,